Tuesday and Wednesday, Dodger Stadium hosted its first postseason party in 7 years, but the Cincinnati Reds came to town and crashed it with good pitching and power. And great plays in the field. And speed. Tom Lasorda's agony is proof that the facts cannot be masked. The Dodgers behind Hideo Nomo must win tonight or their season is over. Welcome to Cincinnati on a beautiful night. Temperature about 70 degrees. Riverfront Stadium on the banks of the Ohio River, home of the Reds since 1970. And playing host tonight to Game 3 of this division series between the Cincinnati Reds and the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Reds trying to win tonight, and a victory tonight puts them into the National League Championship Series, which would start here Tuesday against either Atlanta or Colorado. I'm Al Michaels. In Game 1 of this series in L.A., the Reds delivered a knockout punch, 4 runs in the first inning en route to a 7-2 victory back of Pete Shurik. Then the Reds won a split decision in Game 2 the other night because the Dodgers out-hit them 14-6. But the Reds had the timely hits in that game and won it by a score of 5-4. So it's very simple and appropriate on this opening night of the National Hockey League season. The Dodgers need a hat trick. They need 3 wins in a row to avoid having their season come to an end. And Tim McCarver, tonight the Dodgers sent Hideo Nomo to the mound, the man who started the All-Star game this year for the National League.
And the onus, Al, is not only on Hideo Nomo, but also on his battery mate, Mike Piazza. 2 guys who were born 4 days and 1 international dateline apart. Piazza stranding 7 runners on Tuesday night, but the Dodgers aren't concerned with his hitting. He's going to hit forever. But how does Hideo Nomo and Mike Piazza solve the running game of the Cincinnati Reds? Why, might you ask, is it difficult, more difficult for Nomo and Piazza? The reason is that Piazza throws a split-finger fastball. That's the most difficult pitch to throw a runner out on if you're a catcher, and that's the reason.
Best thing for Nomo to do tonight, pitch a no-hitter.
That'll do it.
Yeah, that'll do it. Against the Cincinnati Reds, as we saw at the very top of the show, Jim Palmer, a team that can beat you in so many different ways.
Well, they certainly can. They play this game in fast forward. In the National League, they're just outstanding offensively. They're first in stolen bases, second in runs, and third in home runs. Defensively, no better team in the National League, only 79 errors. Very balanced pitching, great out of the bullpen, great starting staff. And I'll tell you what, if the right guys get on for the Reds tonight, Mike Piazza is going to think he's at a track meet.
Well, they're ready for a celebration in Cincinnati as they look for a sweep. And tonight's matchup, Hideo Nomo on the mound for the Dodgers, and left-hander David Wells working for Cincinnati. Back in a moment. Right now, let's check in with John Saunders.
And welcome once again, everyone, to the division series here on ABC. Out to the game in just a moment. It could be a night of clinchings. Each series up 2-0, including John Smoltz and Atlanta. He looks to go 6-0 lifetime against the Rockies, 5-1 lifetime in postseason. Dante Bichette trying to break an 0-for-13 streak against Smoltz. Meanwhile, on Wednesday night, Jim Leyritz hits this game-winning shot in the 15th inning to put the Yankees up 2-0 against the Mariners. Seattle will turn to Randy Johnson. Again, with their season in the balance, they are 27-3 when Johnson starts. In Boston, the heart of their order has gone flat. Mo Vaughn, Jose Canseco, a combined 0-for-20 against Cleveland pitching, and the Red Sox have lost 12 consecutive postseason games. We'll be here all night long to bring you up to date with all the scores and highlights, and your game is coming up in a moment after this ABC News Brief and a word from our ABC stations.
Riverfront Stadium, like Dodger Stadium, not sold out. The Dodgers had around 7,000 empty seats for Game 2 and more than that for Game 1, and there were about 4,000 or 5,000 empty seats tonight here at Riverfront. David Wells started the season with Detroit and pitched well enough with the Tigers, 10-3 there, to make the All-Star team for the American League, and then the Reds picked him up on July 31st, and he's been very potent down the stretch. And here is tonight's Budweiser Dodger starting lineup. Brett Butler leads off in center. Chad Fonville bats second at shortstop. Then Mike Piazza, Eric Karros in the cleanup spot, Tim Wallach at third base, Delino DeShields hitting sixth at second base, Raul Mondesi is in right, Roberto Kelly is in left, and Hideo Nomo is the pitcher as Tommy Lasorda starts the same lineup for the third game in a row, and the Reds start a left-handed pitcher for the third game in a row. The outfield, Gant, Howard, and Reggie Sanders, with Branson, Larkin, Boone, and Morris in the infield. Third to first, Benito Santiago back of the plate, and David Wells, with a lot of postseason experience, on the mound. This is the first postseason game he has started, but as a Blue Jay between 1989 and 1992, he appeared in 9 postseason games in relief.
Jim, I think the one thing about David Wells, the flexibility with his fastball.
Oh yeah, he's you know, to pitch against most of the Dodgers, especially the big guys, Karros, Piazza, you got to be able to pitch in, and as a left-hander, almost all of them, they can run that ball away. He's got a good changeup, but he can pitch in with a cut fastball that will make all the slow stuff out over the plate, if he can get the ball in, more effective.
And Wells getting ready to work on Brett Butler. The pitching coach Dave Wallace and Tommy Lasorda conferring. The Dodgers down 2-0 in this best-of-5 series. And here we go. Game 3 is underway, and the first pitch missing to Butler for a ball. Brett this season wound up hitting .300 combined with the Mets and the Dodgers, and he had 41 infield hits, and so the Reds are shortened up at first and third, and he hits that one foul and back out of play, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike.
Matter of fact, as a 38-year-old, and Brett is the oldest center fielder in the major leagues. Otis Nixon 2 years younger than Brett. Brett hit 300 and stole 30 bases to become the oldest player to ever do that.
And the count 1 ball and 2 strikes. Been an unbelievable year for Butler in the sense that the Dodgers opted not to re-sign him. He goes to the Mets. His mother is sick all summer and eventually dies of brain cancer. He comes back to the Dodgers. He gets embroiled in the controversy with Mike Bush, the replacement player. And here he is in postseason, yet the chances are the Dodgers will not re-sign him for 1996. And will the Dodgers re-sign that man for 1996 is the question of the hour. Chopper foul. The Dodgers, through the years, of course, and they've only had 2 managers over the last 4 decades, Walt Alston and Tom Lasorda, and for the most part they've operated on 1-year arrangements, Alston throughout his career and Lasorda for much of his, and the question is, will Tommy be back in uniform in 1996? And down goes Butler looking. So David Wells starts the game with a strikeout, and that will bring up Chad Fonville.
Well, you know, we talk so much about Cincinnati speed. Butler 4 for 10, now make it 4 for 11. I mean, he gets punched out on a great pitch, and this is what pitching's all about. You got a contact hitter at the plate, low fastball away at the knees on the outside part of the plate.
Brett Butler did not strike out against a left-handed pitcher in 42 at-bats since joining the Dodgers, and in the playoffs he struck out on 2 called strikes, once from Schurik and now from David Wells.
Now Chad Fonville, who took over in September as the Dodgers' regular shortstop. Through much of the rest of the summer, he had spelled Delino DeShields at second. Started the season with Montreal after coming up through the Giants organization. And like Butler, a guy who will chop the ball, has speed, and thus gets a lot of infield hits. He, like Butler, with 41 infield singles this season. And there's a little chopper, but foul.
I guess this being hurricane season, you could say they're the clouds before the thunder. Butler and Fonville before Piazza and Karros.
Well, they were cloudy the other night, but there was no thunder was the problem for the Dodgers. Not from Piazza anyway. Plenty from Karros, who hit 2 home runs. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
I mean, Fonville already 5 for 8 and with 4 infield hits here in the division series. So if he gets on, he's going to steal. Wells, not a great move. So LA still with their speed.
Tries to check his swing, and the count remains 2 balls and 2 strikes. Bases empty. And Chad Fonville chopping that one foul. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fonville just 5'6", and the Dodgers love him because he brought a spark to the team. He hustled. They lost a game in San Francisco. I want to say the score was 17-1 in
the night
late
before
July before we did a game.
Yeah,
and
right.
with 2 out in the 9th inning, he ends the game by grounding to the right side and diving into first base. That one on a hop back to the pitcher, and Wells throws him out. Butler and Fonville are gone, and Mike Piazza comes up with 2 out and the bases empty.
Well, David Wells, we talked about his move, not a great one, but when you throw the ball and you're a pitcher, you become a defensive player. And with Fonville's speed, if that ball goes by the pitcher and Boone has to circle it behind second base, no chance. That's an infield hit.
That's one of the things that the artificial surface makes a pitcher. It's a little more precarious fielding a ball on the rug than it is on grass.
2 out, bases empty, and the pitch missing low and outside, ball 1.
And from our perspective, you know, talking about that, Tim, a couple of wet spots on the turf, rain all day long here in Cincinnati yesterday. Well, the ball has a tendency to skid a little bit. And also becomes a factor in the outfield because that ball will kind of hydroplane its way past the outfielders.
Outfield deep and bunched together for Piazza, who swings and misses, and the count 2 balls and 1 strike.
That gives you an idea of how the Reds are going to try to pitch Mike Piazza. When they can throw the fastball inside off the plate with the count 2 balls and no strikes, then that's an indication that they're going to try to get him out inside, and that is their game plan.
2 out, bases empty in the top of the 1st inning. 2-2.
And I think the key as a former pitcher, if you know that you have an aggressive hitter, and as you mentioned in the opening, Piazza, one of the great hitting catchers of all time, he'll chase that pitch. So that's why you have a comfort zone of feeling you can pitch him in off the plate for a ball, and he will expand the strike zone.
2-2 from Wells, got him swinging. So 2 strikeouts and a comebacker, and the Dodgers gone in order after a half. It's the Dodgers nothing, and the Reds coming up. Budweiser. Hideo Nomo was on the mound. Nomo pitching last Saturday in the division clinching game for the Dodgers in San Diego. It was his best outing in over a month. 236 strikeouts in 191 innings this season. And here's tonight's Budweiser Cincinnati Reds starting lineup. Thomas Howard leading off. Barry Larkin batting second. Then Ron Gant. Reggie Sanders in the cleanup spot. Hal Morris at first. Benito Santiago back of the plate. Brett Boone at second base. Jeff Branson at third. And David Wells is the pitcher. And before Howard steps in, let's get an update from John Saunders.
Interesting start between the Rockies and the Braves. Mike Kingery laying down this little bunt here with a runner on first. Smoltz makes a great play to get the out, but Young goes all the way to third from first. And then with Larry Walker at the plate, the wild pitch. Smoltz is there in time to put the tag on Young, but he drops the ball. 1-0. The Rockies take the lead in the first. Back to Al, Jim, and Tim.
All right, John, so Colorado trying to stay alive as the Dodgers are here. No score, bottom of the first inning. Thomas Howard to lead off. Howard, Larkin, and Gant. Hideo Nomo with that tornado delivery. That's what it's known as. Missing with his first pitch, and the count 1 ball and no strikes. Rookie of the Year candidate. It will be either Nomo or Chipper Jones of Atlanta winning the award, despite the fact that Deo is 27 and had all of that experience in Japan. Hit in the air to left center field. Kelly says he'll take care of it, and he does. One gone in the bottom of the first inning, and that will bring up Barry Larkin. This division series game is being brought to you by Chevrolet. The cars and trucks 36 million people depend on every day. Genuine Chevrolet. McDonald's, have you had your break today? And Beechwood aged Budweiser, the king of beers. This Bud's for you. Barry Larkin grew up in Cincinnati, drafted in the first round by the Reds, has spent his entire career here, and takes a strike in the count 0-1. And clearly the most popular of the Reds since the heyday of the Big Red Machine. And you can take your pick as to who was the most popular of the Reds during those years, because there were a few guys. And that's ripped into right center field for a base hit. So the first hit of the game is a solid single to right center by Larkin. And now Barry with a great speed, and we'll see about Nomo and Piazza and what they do with Larkin.
I don't think anybody in baseball combines leadership, intelligence, and athleticism any more than Barry Larkin. He rarely will try to hit a ball that the pitcher doesn't allow him to hit. He will not try to hit the ball on the outside part. He won't try to pull it. He'll only take what the pitcher gives him.
Larkin 51 steals and caught only 5 times. And Nomo with a token toss to first base.
Yeah, I think an important thing for people watching at home is that Nomo, they attempted to steal 34 times, successful 29. Larkin, as you just mentioned, 51, only caught 5 times. And he's got a huge lead.
And he goes, and the pitch is up and in, and the throw is right there, but not in time. Piazza threw a bullet down to second, and it was right there, but Larkin, after Jim had just said he had that huge lead, got a very good jump, and he steals this one on Nomo.
See, he knows he can steal because they have timed Nomo. He's about 1.3 to 1.5 seconds. So even if Mike Piazza does everything properly, tough pitch to throw on because he has to reach back, but it was a fastball, perfect throw, he's still safe.
Harry Wendelstedt, the second base umpire, right there to call it. And the count 1 ball and no strikes on Gant. And a little toss back to DeShields.
Well, the one thing you have to do from a catcher's standpoint, that's 7 stolen bases for the Cincinnati Reds. You have to resist the temptation to call for too many fastballs to try to get the runners, because the Reds have a lot of fastball hitters. Therein lies the problem with their running game and power game. That's what Jim was talking about before the game.
Allowing 29 steals, second most in the league. It's funny, he has led the league, or was close to it, in so many positive categories, and then he also leads in wild pitches and in balks, and then Piazza led the league in passed balls. So it's almost an all or nothing situation. Good fastball, but it misses away, and the count 2 balls and 1 strike.
Well, what happens here? I mean, you got Larkin again with a big lead, and he can actually get a bigger lead at second than he did at first, giving you these little feints. And if you're the pitcher, you're into a rhythm. And especially Nomo. He doesn't slide step. He hasn't really had to do this. I don't know if they didn't run in Japan or what the case is, but he is very, very slow to the plate.
Meanwhile, DeShields is almost holding him on at second, and then he backpedals as the pitch comes in, and it's ripped to center, but Butler is there and makes the catch, and Larkin gets back to second. Brett Butler got a good jump on it. Gant lining it to the gap in left center field, but Butler playing him almost perfectly because he was there and is able to make the catch on the run.
And again, 4 straight fastballs from Nomo with Larkin in a possible steal situation. That ball was scorched to left center.
I was just going to say, it almost took Butler's glove off as he makes the catch.
Like a rising fastball on Brett Butler.
Well, we had 2 rising fastballs, the one to the plate and the one out in left center. But you don't make that play, and again, that ball was scorched, as you said, unless you defense him properly. Playing him around to left center field, as you should. And there's that four-seam rising, supposedly rising fastball we talked about.
Now Reggie Sanders, who scorched one at Dodger Stadium the other night after a Fonville error for a 2-run homer off Ismael Valdez. 2 out, bottom of the first with no score, and Larkin at second. 1-0 the count.
This can really be a distraction to a hitter.
It shouldn't be. Oh, you're right.
Absolutely be a distraction. Not to the pitcher. It shouldn't be with 2 outs. I know what you're thinking, Jim. But Barry Larkin has faked the steal twice down there. DeShields continues to come over. There's a lot of movement behind the pitcher for Reggie Sanders to be hitting right now.
2-0 the count. Double movement that time as the pitcher's delivered. Larkin's bluffing going to third, and DeShields is backpedaling, going back to a more normal position at second.
DeShields could afford to hold Larkin on at second base with Gann hitting because he's a pull hitter. But Sanders will go the other way.
And with 2 outs, I got to think you're worried more about your defense. And I mean, let him steal third. Don't give it to him.
Right.
He's going to third. The pitch is outside. The throw doesn't get him. And Wallach argues that call with Charlie Relaford at third.
What you're talking about, Jim, is priorities. Your priority now is to get the hitter. If you get the hitter, you're out of the inning. Not nearly as important to steal third with 2 outs. This played very close at third. Wallach thought he pushed his left hand off the bag, and I think he did. Look at the knee come down on the left arm. Then he made the tag before the right hand was in at third. I think Wallach had a good call right there. Watch his knee push the left arm off the bag.
Well, that's almost an impossible call for the umpire to make, because it's not only happening with a hand going in and Wallach falling on him, but in a cloud of dust.
See how that leg pushes the left arm on. It's a very difficult play to make, but if he calls him out, I don't think Cincinnati has a complaint.
3 balls, no strikes the count. Hal Morris is on deck, and he gets the green light, and the count is 3-1.
I mean, the point is, nobody in the National League had a better lowest batting average against, even Greg Maddux. So Nomo's got to worry about the hitter. I mean, a tough right-handed hitter. They hit 182. Right-handers hit, what, 168. But the combined lefties are, what, 199. So don't worry about Larkin. With 2 outs, get the hitter. And he's a tough hitter.
2 out, Larkin at third, and the count now 3-2.
Interesting, he has not thrown a splitter yet. All fastballs.
Now go back to those 19 wild pitches. Most of them came on the splitter, because that's a ball that you want to go down. But you got to trust your catcher.
Thank you.
You have to really have a lot of faith in your catcher in this situation with a runner at third. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Fastball inside.
And called strike 3. So he goes 3-0 and strikes him out, and the Reds strand a man at third. At the end of 1, it's the Dodgers nothing and the Reds nothing. Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver. Game 3 of the division series. Reds winning 2 at Dodger Stadium and trying to wrap up this series and advance to the National League Championship Series. No score. Second inning. Eric Karros hit 2 home runs in game 2, including a 2-run shot in the 9th inning, but the Dodgers had yielded 2 in the top of the inning and wound up losing 5-4. Karros, a tremendous season. He's had the type of year in which he could win the Most Valuable Player award, but probably won't. And that's ripped into left field for a base hit and maybe more, backhanded near the track by Gant, and Ronnie with a nice play to hold him to a long single.
Well, no Dodger hotter in September than Karros. 7 home runs, 23 RBIs, and when you don't make a good pitch, if you're David Wells, you got to expect this. Trying to get in. We talked about the defense for Cincinnati. That is a double unless you have a guy like Ron Gant that not only can hit home runs but can flag down those balls that are destined for the walls.
Interesting that Piazza and Karros similar hitters, but you can get in on Piazza, not on Karros.
Now Tim Wallach fouls it back. You know, I mentioned that Karros probably won't win the MVP award. One of the reasons is a lot of the voters will cast their ballots for Piazza, or at least put Piazza, his teammate, higher than Eric. That's one of the negatives to having a teammate who has a similar season. And the count, 1 ball and 1 strike.
Dante Bichette of the Rockies certainly in the running for the MVP. Greg Maddux certainly in the running, 19-2. Last time a pitcher won an MVP award in the National League, Bob Gibson, back in 1968.
The year of the 1.12 ERA. Wallach fouls it back.
Hang loose.
Yeah, real loose. Wallach with a torn ligament in his left knee, and it appeared at one point after he suffered the injury his season might be over. Playing with a brace, and clearly a very inspiring thing for the Dodgers when he came back, because they weren't expecting him back, certainly not that quickly. And at the age of 38, the question remains with Wallach, who earlier this season picked up his 2000th career hit. Will he be back, or will he retire? Rockies still leading the Braves, Yankees and Mariners, 0-0 in the bottom of the 2nd inning. And no score at Boston. Again, all of the series 2-love at this point, with Atlanta, Cincinnati, Cleveland, and the Yankees, all with clinching possibilities tonight. 1-2. Delino DeShields will be next.
You know, I tell you, in the history that I can remember of any kind of playoffs, when can you imagine the last time you had 3 pitchers so much alike that Cincinnati has sent out there? You know, Wells, Shorrock, and Smiley. And I'm not sure if that's an advantage or a disadvantage for the Reds. I mean, the Dodgers have now seen 3 straight lefties.
2-2, and they would see, if it goes to a 5th game, Shurek again. If we go to a 4th game tomorrow, the Reds will go with a right-hander. They'll go with Mark Portugal. But in a decisive 5th game, they'd go back with Shurek. The Dodgers, meanwhile, tomorrow night, I would look for Ramon Martinez if they keep the series alive on 3 days rest.
Tommy Lasorda saying before the game that it depends on how he feels. But he didn't throw but about 80 pitches his first time out.
Wallach lifts it foul, and the count remains 2-2.
Yeah, Tommy also talking about the fact that everybody is in the bullpen tonight. They have to, as we know, they have to win tonight to play tomorrow.
Yep. A 4th game tomorrow would come your way at 7 o'clock Eastern and 4 o'clock Pacific, an hour earlier Saturday and Sunday. No score, 2nd inning, 2 balls, 2 strikes the count on Wallach. Karros at first base. And there's a little chopper towards second. Boone throws in the dirt and scooped out by Morris at first base. And a lot of the things the Reds do won't show up in numbers, but clearly a case right there why they have the best defense in the league, as Boone throws one in the dirt. Morris nearly gets handcuffed, but scoops it out for a big out.
Boone, go ahead, Jim.
No, that's right. Well, on the run, and again, you know, we saw some plays in games 2 where they made good plays, but somebody picks them up. Talked about 79 errors. That's number 80 on the year, unless Hal Morris does his job at first base. Very, very soft hands over at first with Hal Morris.
Similar play that Benito Santiago made at home plate the other night in the 7th inning to save a run.
DeShields takes in the dirt. Now, don't say it was number 80 because Steve Hurt will have a heart attack. It's very important to note that postseason stats have nothing to do with regular season stats. A lot of people make the mistake of saying that's his 27th home run after he hits 26 in the regular season. Has nothing to do with that.
I take it back. I apologize.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Steve nods. He nods his acceptance. That's popped foul back of third base. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike. It's going to work from John Saunders.
All right, Al, thanks a lot. The Indians and the Red Sox. Eddie Murray aboard via the walk, and Timothy Wakefield serves this one up to Jim Thome. Is it fair? Yes, it is. A 2-run shot that curled around the pole, and the Indians, looking for the sweep, have a 2-0 lead. Back to Al, Jim, and Tim.
All right, thank you, John. 1 ball and 1 strike. The count on DeShields, who fouls it back, and the count 1-2.
Delino wants that pitch back. As you see, Mondesi on deck, also wearing a brace on his right knee. We talked about Wallach and the problems he's having. Mondesi with postseason surgery also. Delino DeShields wants that pitch back. He just missed that one.
I mean, when you got a pitcher that's hold left-handers to 218 during the season, and a hitter at the plate that hit around 211 off lefties, you don't get that belt-high pitch and not want it back. Good pitch to hit, and he missed it.
Wells with the 1-2 offering, off speed, and DeShields way out in front. Down he goes, and Wells has 3 strikeouts in an inning and 2/3.
See, David Wells has good enough stuff to give you that fastball and trust his velocity and movement, and then come back with the overhand downer. That's exactly what he does. Great rotation. You can see the curveball rotating down and in. It appears the ball's going to stay up, and a good curveball really goes down quickly.
Now Mondesi at the plate. One thing about Wells, he will not win the haberdashery award. You know, when David pitched with Toronto and Detroit, his shirt was always hanging out, and he was always full of mud. And tonight, I don't know where that hat's been, but I guess it's been in a, and there's the tattoo as well. I mean, he's the whole package, isn't he?
Well, he took off the earring. I said, where's the earring? You know, he had that for years. He said Sparky didn't like it, and Marge doesn't like it.
Well, if Paul Tagliabue were the commissioner of baseball, he'd automatically be fined $1,000 for the hat. We know that the fashion police would be out in force.
Well, you talked about postseason errors not being the same as seasonal errors. Obviously, that doesn't go for hats, because he's wearing the same one he wore during the season.
Maybe Shotzi too got a hold of that hat.
Be a different color if he
Yes,
did.
it would be. That's line down the left field line, and foul. And the count, no balls and 2 strikes.
Well, you know, Lasorda always talks about bleeding Dodger blue. Maybe David Wells is bleeding Cincinnati red. I mean, it's all over that hat.
Tommy Lasorda at the age of 68. Brett Butler at the age of 38.
I'll tell you what, you know that ball, what, about 1.5 feet from being a double. Tommy's going, when are we going to get a break? I mean, he's one of those guys. If you want to think positive, you don't want to sit next to him in the dugout. Only if things are going good.
Tommy has every reason to think positively now, since his daughter Laura presented him with his first grandchild last Monday. Emily Tess, T-E-S-S, and her last name is the first initial of all of Tommy's brothers. Watching in Norristown, Pennsylvania tonight.
That's where Tommy is from, and still with a lot of ties to Norristown, as Mondesi lays off, and the pitch just missing. 1 ball, 2 strikes to count. With Wells coming over, one of the reasons the Reds and general manager Jim Bowden acquired Wells was looking ahead to postseason play, not necessarily to face the Dodgers, but to face the Braves and to neutralize their left-handed hitters. And they hope that'll be the case beginning Tuesday. 2-2, but it was one of those deals made just prior to the trading deadline where Bowden went out, and there he is, the young general manager who's done such a terrific job here in Cincinnati. And by the way, I said Bowden. He wants it. It's Bowden. It's not Bobby Bowden. It's Jim Bowden.
That bodes well as far as Jim's concerned.
It definitely bodes well. But he was looking ahead to postseason play, and that's one of the reasons they went out and got the lefty.
He was putting up the lineup in the locker room yesterday, and I thought he was one of the clubhouse guys. And he looked that young.
How many times do you see the general manager putting up the lineup for the next day?
Yep.
And we thought it was Davey Johnson and Ray Knight.
And that's another story.
Yes.
And we'll be into that shortly. Ooh, and Mondesi almost gets hit and does. It grazed him. So Raul, who's limping anyway because of a knee injury incurred a week ago tonight, has this one glance off his elbow.
Well, we talked about David Wells' ability to cut the ball inside. A little more pressure on the middle finger. Try to get the ball to appear to be in maybe the inside corner. Get the hitter to swing, and that ball just keeps coming in and nicks him.
Karros at second now, and Mondesi at first. 2 down, no score, and Roberto Kelly, the number 8 hitter. He's 2 for 8 in the playoffs and takes up high ball 1. Roberto's been with 4 teams in the last 2 seasons. He played here last year with Cincinnati and also with Atlanta. And this season started with Montreal and now with the Dodgers. Kelly's got a lot of friends in postseason play. When you look at it, he played with the Yankees, then he went to the Reds, and then the Braves, and now with the Dodgers. All his rowdy friends playing in October.
And Tommy Lasorda would like to have him do here with 2 outs what he did all year, which is hitting the clutch. 326 with runners in scoring position. Dodgers in the first 2 games only 3 for 15. You want to change the complexion of this series? Start getting 2-out hits and base hits with runners in scoring position.
Very odd for him to be taking, as you see Nomo on deck. Roberto Kelly has walked only 10 times unintentionally this year. That's an over 400 at bats. I wouldn't throw him a strike here.
I don't think he intends to.
Karros at second and Mondesi at first with 2 down. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count.
2 strikes, 2 outs. All Karros is trying to do is get off the base, and on contact he's gone. A lot of times you'll see the third base coach flash 2 and 2 to the runner on second. That's 2 strikes, 2 outs. Get the extra step.
Kelly very proficient in these situations at .333 during the regular season. And he breaks his bat and pops it up in foul ground, and Morris is there. And the Dodgers leave 2 in the second. At the end of an inning and a half at Riverfront, it's the Dodgers nothing, the Reds nothing. Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, no score. The Dodgers threatened in the top of the second inning, but Kelly fouled out to end the threat. And now the Reds come up in the bottom of the second inning. They are 5, 6, and 7 hitters. Hal Morris, Benito Santiago, and Brett Boone. Morris a double in the first inning to drive in a couple in game 1, and then he rode home on Santiago's homer. And he's 4 for 7 in the 2 games. Rockies leading in the 3rd at Atlanta. Back of Billy Swift, Yanks and Mariners at the Kingdome, no score. And the Indians leading 2-0 on the 2-run homer by Tomei at Fenway.
Nobody dances around in the box more than Hal Morris. Jim and I were talking to Hal. We didn't know the origin of that last night, or at least I didn't. And he was telling us that Lou Piniella, when he was a minor league hitting instructor for the New York Yankees, Hal was in Columbus, and that's where he started movement in the box, and that was to generate more power. And certainly he's done that. In those days, he said he was a singles hitter. Lou wanted for him to generate more power, and he's certainly done that with that much movement. That's a lot of movement for a hitter.
In the air to right field, and Mondesi comes in and appears for a moment to have trouble with it, but stays with it to make the catch. Raul has a tremendous arm, but because of the knee problem, his mobility has been severely hampered in the first 2 games in the series.
There's Hal, and I'll tell you what, if you look at this, and when we talked about Lou Piniella, the next year after he made the change, he hit 17 home runs at the minor league level, 3 the year before. And in the series, that 2-run double with 2 outs in the first inning really set the tone, and then Santiago backed him up with a 2-run shot. 4 runs in the first, and they were off to the races.
Yeah, that double was the other way.
Yes,
too.
it was. 2 strikes, 2 outs. Key double. Set the tone for this series.
Benito Santiago's had some good years, but this is the first time he's been in postseason play.
We talk a little bit about Hideo Nomo. Talked about the 11 strikeouts against San Diego, but previous to that, his velocity was down 10 to 12 miles per hour. Tired arm, split middle fingernail on his pitching hand. I think Bobby Bonds, who's obviously the father of Barry, you can look there, that was a forkball or splitter, so maybe that's why the velocity was down. But he said, yeah, Nomo's deceptive. Yes, we haven't really seen him, but he is substance. Great location with a fastball, an unhittable forkball because you can't pick it up when he's on.
2-1 is in there. Yeah. That was the forkball right there, and it's 2-2.
I mean, great deception, hides the ball well. Great torque. This is where he gets his arm speed. Shoulder tucked in, and then you can just see that ball tumble.
And that's ripped to left, but foul. 2-2.
Everybody talks about how a pitcher should keep his eye on the target. At one time or another in a windup, almost every pitcher takes his eye off the glove at one time or another. Great concentration right there, but when Nomo looks away, however briefly, he does not pick up the target. You did that.
Yeah, I think I kept my eyes on a little better than this, but I mean, the guy that comes to mind is one of the great rookie sensations back in '81 or '80 was Fernando. Look to the skies. So he knows where it is right now, but let's take a look to left.
And much like Fernando, Nomo's trying to keep the Dodgers alive in a best-of-5 series, because in 1981, the year of a 50-day baseball strike, they added an extra layer of playoffs. It was a best-of-5. The Dodgers faced Houston, and in the Dome, the Astros won the first 2 games. But then the Dodgers came back and won the next 3 and went on to win the World Series. And down to first base goes Benito Santiago as Nomo loses him. 1 out, 1 on. John Saunders.
Al, we showed you Eric Young scoring a run for the Rockies to give them a 1-0 lead. Here at the plate, the breaking ball is up from Smoltz. He takes it out to left field. Ryan Klesko is back, has a beat on it, leaps, but he does not have it. 2-run home run, and the Rockies now lead 3-0 in the third. Al, Jim, and Tim.
All right, John. Here, 1 out. And Santiago at first base. And Boone at the plate. The free swinging Brett Boone, and the count 0-1. So a home run by Eric Young. And the Rockies trying to stay alive in Atlanta. Brett Boone, his father Bob, the longtime outstanding catcher for the Phillies and Angels, among other teams, and currently the manager of the Royals, who just had his contract extended the other day. Chop towards short. Fonville to DeShields for 1, and that's all they get. So Santiago is forced out at second, 2 down with Boone at first base, and Jeff Branson comes to the plate.
You talk about defenses. To me, right off the bat, Chad Fonville knew he was only going to get 1, backed up on it, made the sound play, and that's what good defense is about. Don't try to turn a double play when you can't.
That's when a second baseman becomes a first baseman. Right. He stretches just like a first baseman would, knowing that only 1 is possible.
Out of harm's way.
Yep.
Jeff Branson, the platoon third baseman, but when you play the Dodgers, you don't worry about platooning because the Dodgers have an all right-handed rotation. So Branson will start every game in this series, and when the Reds see a lefty, Mark Lewis plays third. In fact, the Dodgers have not had a game started by a lefty since late 1992. Strike.
Bobby Ojeda was the last left-handed starter for the Los Angeles Dodgers on September 24th, 1992. Remarkable.
Meanwhile, Bernie Williams with a home run in the 4th inning at the Kingdome, and so the Yankees trying to sweep that series and advance to the American League Championship Series, lead 1-0. line down the right field line and foul. And it's 0-2. If the Reds win, or if the Dodgers win this series, either of these teams would open at home in Game 1 of the National League Championship Series. Davey Johnson, the Reds manager, hoping it's here on Tuesday. In the American League, if the Yankees win that series, they have to open on the road. As the wild card, they will not have the advantage of having a fourth game of 7 at home. Thus, it would open up in either Cleveland or Boston.
This is a good running situation right here. 0-2 on the hitter. He might get the splitter. Santiago with fair speed.
Fastball up. 1-2.
That's when Nomo goes to his best splitter when he's ahead in the count. I should say Brett Boone at first base, not Santiago, who was erased on the force play.
1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. No score in the second. 2-2.
You know, after seeing Nomo pitch that one hitter in San Francisco, game that we did up there at this late July, he's not as sharp tonight. Splitter not splitting as much. Doesn't look like he has the same velocity. And on that night, I can tell you what, he ran that fastball in. The catcher moved away. He would hit Piazza's target.
There goes Boone. The pitch is low. The throw is also low and not in time. 3 stolen bases in the first 2 innings now for Cincinnati.
Now, Timmy, you said good running situation, but don't you think Lasorda is going to pitch around Branson right here as we take a look at the jump and go to the pitcher Wells?
If he does, that'll be fine. Then you have Thomas Howard leading off the 3rd inning. That's fine. If they pitch to him, then you've got Branson hitting with a man in scoring position. So it works in the Reds' favor either way, the way I see it. He got the pitch on which to run. That was a splitter in the dirt. Tough pitch for Piazza to handle. The Reds now have 9 stolen bases in this series, and they have not been caught.
And they are going to walk him, or at least Piazza sets up for the intentional walk. So with the count 3 balls and 2 strikes, they decide to walk Branson. And again, as was just pointed out, at worst, if Wells goes out, you start the 3rd inning with the top of the order instead of with the pitcher.
You know, the odds are that Branson, who would have to hit an extra base hit or get an extra base hit to drive in the runner from first. I mean, you're playing the percentages, and I think that was a good running situation for Davey Johnson.
Now Wells at the plate, and he takes a strike. Remember, Wells spent his whole career in the American League prior to the trade at the end of July. So he is not the most experienced hitter. He batted .143 in his 2 months with the Reds.
Well, take a look at his right foot. I said, David, I said, you that good a hitter? He said, well, I'll tell you what. The first night that I came over to the National League, I took batting practice. I hit a ball right down on that right leg, and I've been wearing that, which I know you hate.
Oh, I hate it. So does Al.
Yeah.
But he said that thing swelled up, and he said, I put it on, even though I can't hit.
You might be the only pitcher I've ever seen wear that half shoe guard.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Knowing Wells, he could have put it on his left foot.
I mean, this guy is very talented, but he's not always playing with a full deck. I mean, how did Davey Johnson describe him? He said he can be flighty. He's ready to take off at any time.
He was 4 for 28. 2 out, 2 on in the 2nd inning. Nomo's 1-2 to Wells. Got him. Off speed. Down goes Wells. And the Reds leave a pair. We go to the 3rd. No score in Cincinnati. The Dodgers had 2 men aboard in the 2nd inning, but were frustrated, leaving 2 as Kelly fouled out. And on the subject of frustration, take a look at this. Total games in postseason play, World Series, Championship Series, Division Series, 789. In the 2nd game at LA the other night, it was the first time in postseason history in which the losing team had 8 or more hits than the winning team. Remember, the Dodgers had 14 hits and the Reds had 6, and the Reds won the game. It's the first time in 789 postseason games that had happened, and that, I think, puts the exclamation point on how frustrating it has been for the Dodgers as Nomo leads off in the third. Strike, 0-1.
Yeah, Tommy lamenting about that before the game. I mean, really in good spirits, but said, boy, if we just hadn't made that error at short and then the 2-run home run, and if we had just thrown out that runner when we pitched out. Of course, it's pretty much what the Dodgers season is all year. When they make the plays, they win. When they don't, tough to win.
Nomo was 6 for 66 this year. And Wells sends him down Route 66. Strikeout number 4. 1 out in the third. John Saunders.
Al, as you might expect, Randy Johnson and Jack McDowell in a great pitcher's duel into the 4th inning. But Bernie Williams, this pitch is up, and he tees it off to right field. The opposite field home run gives the Yankees a 1-0 lead. That's where it stands now in the 4th. Back to Al, Tim, and Jim.
And at Riverfront, John, 1 out in the 3rd inning with the bases empty. Brett Butler struck out in the 1st. And Wells starts him with a strike, 0-1.
And all you got to do is look at Cincinnati's defense, and you can tell that this guy not only got all those infield hits, 40 plus, but 19 bunt base hits. So you play in, you make him hit the ball by you.
Morris and Branson both in short at 1st and 3rd, and the count 0 balls and 2 strikes. 3-0 Rockies in the bottom of the 3rd. Yankees on that Bernie Williams home run leading, and the Indians trying to stay alive, leading 3-0 at Fenway. Not only trying to stay alive, trying to knock the Red Sox off in 3 and advance to the American League Championship Series. 0 balls, 2 strikes to count. Davey Johnson, he is gone at the end of the season. It doesn't matter what happens. He can win the World Series. He can sweep the World Series. And I guess that's appropriate. As he goes out of view there, he'll be out of view when this postseason is over. Ray Knight, the 3rd base coach and the assistant manager, that's his title, will manage the Reds next year. Why? Because Marge Schott, the owner of the team, and there's a shot of Schott, just likes Ray more than Davey. I mean, that's how you crystallize it. Hit foul. You caught a glimpse of Ray Knight. Johnson came in here. Remember, Schott had been suspended in 1993. And as you look at Ray Knight next to pitching coach Don Gullett, Jim Bowden, the general manager, hires Johnson, who replaces the very popular Tony Perez. But then Schott comes off suspension. Johnson hires Knight. Schott loves Knight, and before this season begins, Bowden goes to Davey Johnson and says, and there is Jim Bowden, you can come back, but only for 1 year. And Davey could have said, you know, take this job and shove it, but he didn't. He said it was an opportunity for me, and he is prepared to live with it. The count. But I mean, it's when we think about it, guys, I can't think of a parallel situation ever.
I can't either. Johnny Keane won the 1964 series, the World Series, with the St. Louis Cardinals. He moved to the Yankees when Yogi Berra was fired. But this is a bizarre situation. 2 guys have handled it so professionally, Davey Johnson and Ray Knight.
The difference with the Keane thing, though, I don't think people knew exactly what was going to happen to Keane during that season.
I was trying to draw some parallel to it. That's as close as far as postseason play is concerned, as close as I could think.
But Jim Bowden did make a point to us. He said this team also is geared to win. I mean, we are trying to win in '95, and Davey Johnson, the guy that won over 90 games 5 times, is the best manager. And he's the guy he wanted at the helm this year, and as it turned out, it's really worked out well.
Well, I suspect, even though it's a little murky in terms of who's confirming what with this story, but I would suggest that Bowden said to Schott, look, I brought him in to finish a job, and I want him to finish the job this year, because your question might be, you know, why didn't Knight just take over this year if Marge loves him?
Right.
So I think Bowden won that battle, but Schott's going to win her war, I suppose, if that's the way to put it, even though that's a hell of a way to win a war if your manager that you're getting rid of wins a World Series.
Well, it says officially that Davey will move upstairs and be a consultant next year, and he will have none of that. I mean, that's the official term for Marge Schott.
Yeah, it would not be. I mean, I'm still very shocked he did not get the job in Baltimore. Supposedly a contending team. I mean, a world-class manager. That's shocking.
Butler, this is a long at-bat, if nothing else, making Wells throw and throw and throw. 2-2.
Well, this is his style. I mean, and really to get to 2-2, he had to take that 0-2 pitch about an inch inside because he knows the strike zone. He's going to wear you down. And eventually, because he did steal 32 bases this year, you don't want to walk him, even though you're left-handed. So you're going to maybe have to give in a little bit, and that's when he seizes the opportunity.
And that's ball 3, so the count is full.
Great at bat by Butler.
That's 11 pitches now that Wells has thrown. This will be the 12th pitch he's thrown to Brett Butler.
There is nothing more annoying if you're a pitcher than to have a hitter at the plate that makes you throw the ball over. Because that's not the way you want to do it. You want to throw enough strikes to get him to swing at balls, and Butler to this point hasn't done that.
So Fonville, who's been on deck for 20 minutes, and that's pitch number 12 that winds up back in the seats.
Of course, when you played an A-ball last year, Al, if you're Fonville, you're happy. You'll stay on there for about 30 minutes.
One out, bases empty, third inning at Riverfront. The Dodgers and Reds scoreless. Pitch number 13 is grounded to the right side, fielded by Morris. He flips to Wells just in time. Two gone now in the third inning, and it will bring up Fonville.
Yeah, I don't care how many times during spring training you tell everybody on a ball hit to the right side, get over there. If your immediate reaction is not to get over there in a hurry with a fast runner, because you can see Morris knows he can't get there, and he just barely beats him. In fact, I don't even think he tagged the bag.
He may have tagged Butler, but he didn't tag the bag.
And he ran right over the top of the bag.
Left-handed pitchers, it's always more difficult for left-handers to cover first, because after their windup, they go toward third base. But he did touch Butler, but missed the bag. There's a situation that had Brett slid, he may knock the legs out from under Wells, but that's the only way it had been safe.
Well, he could have certainly hurt David right there.
Yeah.
Two out, bases empty. The Dodgers have hit just one ball out of the infield. That was a scorched single by Karros leading off in the second. Wells hasn't walked anybody. He's hit a batter, and he has struck out 4. Two out, bases empty, third inning. Totals identical. Each team no runs, 1 hit, no errors. Two and 0. Fonville, and there they are, the 1 and 2 hitters for the Dodgers, leading the league in infield hits by a mile, because you have to go down to Brian Hunter at 27 to find number 3. Darren Lewis, who is now a reserve outfielder for the Reds, who had been playing regularly, at 26, the former Giant. 2 and 1.
Can you imagine being a rookie? I mean, you know, last year in your A-ball, you come up and then you don't have a guy that really hits like you, and then all of a sudden they trade for Brett Butler, and you get to learn from the master as far as punching the ball, utilizing your speed. Fonville, even more advantageous, is switch hitter.
And that's lined into left field for a base hit. So Chad has his 6th hit of the division series. A 2-out single here in the third inning. Piazza coming up. Here's John Saunders.
Al, Tim Wakefield is struggling. He walks Bell, he walks Murray, and then he walks Tomei in succession. Baerga, who had singled, was on third, trots in with the 3rd run of the game, and Cleveland now up 3-zip in the 3rd. Al, Jim, and Tim.
So the Indians hoping for a couple of days off, and then the possibility of opening the American League Championship Series Tuesday in Cleveland. I say the possibility as Piazza takes a strike. If Seattle wins their series with the Yankees, then the American League Championship Series would open in Seattle. If the Yankees win that series, it opens in either Cleveland or Boston. That's ripped into left field and down into the corner, and Ron Gant will have to play it off the fence, and he juggles it, and that means Amalfitano can wave Fonville home, and he's no signal yet. He hasn't touched home plate yet, and he's out because he went by the plate, and Joe West didn't make the call because he hadn't touched the plate. He had missed the tag, and if Fonville had known that the call hadn't been made, he could have gotten up and gotten back to the plate. Instead, he's out. I think we'll have a replay for you when we come back.
Ron Gant momentarily loses the ball. Joey Amalfitano, the third base coach, sending Fonville. But look at Benito Santiago use the shin guard on his left leg to ward Fonville off and now make the tag, and a great call by Joe West, the home plate umpire.
As Thomas Howard leads off in the bottom of the third, lifts one to shallow left field, and Kelly makes the catch. A perfect call by West. He had good position. He saw the play very clearly. Fonville thought he had touched home plate, but obviously he did not.
It's the way they used to do it in the old days.
Well,
okay, that's a perfect blocking of home plate.
It really is. What you're not supposed to block home plate without the ball. That's a very, very close call because Santiago didn't have the ball before Fonville got there, but the ball was arriving, and he uses that left shin guard beautifully to ward Fonville off the plate and then go back and make the tag.
And you saw Benito looking out to see Piazza at second base and what he was doing, and then they're yelling at him, turn around and make the tag, which he does, because there's no way he can see him missing home plate as Larkin signals into center field. So Barry has both the Reds hits. A one-out single here in the third. He stole second and third the last time he was aboard.
Well, he did that in game one in the ninth inning, even though they were up 7-2, because Davey Johnson said you're never content. And right here, I mean, this Barry Larkin hit .319 this year, going 3 for 50 when he hurt his thumb. And you're talking about a guy that would have contended with Tony Gwynn as Gwynn won his 7th batting title. It's the kind of year he had, and he will be running.
Now Gant. The Reds have already stolen 3 bases tonight. It's almost insult to injury because Nomo not only gives up a lot of steals, he led the league in balks as well.
With 5.
Bluff's going, pitch out, and the count 1-0.
I'll tell you, it was almost a pitch in. Piazza goes out, and the ball was almost over the outside part of the plate. I mean, this ball was just off the plate.
And I'm telling you right now, if you want to beat Cincinnati, you have to stay out of the big inning. I mean, I think that's the key to pitching. And to start pitching out and to worrying so much about Larkin going into the middle of their lineup is definitely a no-no.
They get you either way.
Oh, yes, they do.
Sure.
So you pitch out, you hurry your windup, you hurry your delivery, and all of a sudden you get 2-0 to a guy like Gant with one swing. He had 29 dingers this year to make it 2-0. Larkin gets on. I mean, it's just too late. He's going to steal.
In the air to deep left field. 2-0 Cincinnati. when he hits one, there is not much doubt.
Remember what we said the first time Larkin was on. Back in the first inning, as Reggie Sanders swings at the splitter, a catcher must resist the temptation to call for the fastball, especially to a hitter like Ron Gant. And as Jim said at the beginning, if they don't get you running, they'll get you in the power department.
That was the reaction of the first base coach, Joel Youngblood. And that's grounded foul on the count. No balls and 2 strikes on Reggie Sanders.
I mean, a lot of credit could be given to Barry Larkin not running in that situation and giving Gant a chance to swing the bat, as he did.
But the threat of him running, the pitch out behind,
Yep.
You hurry your windup, you make, I mean, one of the great fastball hitters, both Larkin and Gant, and you pay the price, 2-0.
And as the Reds take the lead here and seek a sweep, the Braves catch the Rockies and tie that game in Atlanta 3-3. Two 2-0 Cincinnati. 1 out and the bases empty in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Off speed, check swing. No. Yes. He said yes. Terry Tata apparently said he came around.
Looked like he went too far to me.
Yeah, clearly
And what was the pitch? Splitter.
Tata with sort of a mysterious gesture at first base, which for a moment was interpreted as no swing, and down he goes instead. Two out and Hal Morris the batter. 1-0 the count. Morris flied out in the 2nd inning. Hal is 4 for 8 in this series. 1-1. Hal Morris, well, let's take a look at Steve Hurt came up with an idea, 2 of a kind, to give you an idea as to certain players and who they are representative of in terms of other players of other eras at certain points in their career. Frank McCormick, the old Reds first baseman, years ago, at his point in his career, similar numbers to Morris. One-two pitch is fouled away. Tino Martinez, a 2-run homer in the 5th inning, and the Mariners under the Kingdome now lead the Yankees 2-1. Two out, bases empty, and the pitch to Morris is squibbed foul off the end of the bat.
Yeah, I was thinking about that matchup. You know, Randy Johnson is certainly the most dominating pitcher in the American League. If Seattle would come back, he would be able to pitch the first game of the championship series. But again, it would be on 3 days rest. Boy, so a lot of things going on if indeed these teams come back in deficits.
And Morris goes down on strikes, but the damage done. The 2-run homer by Gant makes it 2-0, and back we come after this from our ABC stations. Ron Gant's 2-run home run in the 3rd inning has given the Reds a 2-0 lead as we go to the 4th. And Eric Karros to lead off. Karros with a 2nd inning leadoff single, and leads off the 4th inning by hitting one into the right field corner, and Sanders was there but couldn't make the play, and Karros will wind up at 2nd. And so the Dodgers finally get a break in what has been a series of immense frustration.
Well, almost a great running play. Now Karros pulls the first time up. This time he slices the ball with the spin left to right out of his glove after a long running attempt. And I'll tell you what, on AstroTurf, hard surface, tough to keep those eyes from bouncing, especially when you got to go all out into the corner.
Yeah, but that's a ball normally Sanders sucks up easily. Error on the right field. The first error of the game, or the first error not only of the game but of the series against Cincinnati.
Now Tim Wallach at the plate, and he grounds it to 3rd. Branson looks the runner back, and on one pitch he's gone. for the first out in the 4th inning. This division series game is being brought to you by Smooth Bush Beer and Easy Drinking Bush Light, Texaco, Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil, and Buick and your local Buick dealers. Remember, Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. Full moon tonight. Beautiful night in Cincinnati after torrential rain yesterday. Delino DeShields at the plate takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Braves, who were trailing 3-0, tying it. Avi Lopez, a 2-run single. Tino Martinez's home run has given the Mariners the lead in Seattle over the Yankees, and the Indians lead 3-0 at Fenway in the bottom of the 4th inning. 0-2. DeShields was having his troubles earlier this year. In fact, he was moaning about the injuries that he'd sustained and the possibility of retirement, and then Fonville got the chance to play at second, and then DeShields came back and Offerman went south and they moved Fonville over. Delino came on at the end.
Delino DeShields coming to the Dodgers for one of the best young right-handers in the game, Pedro Martinez. 14-10 this year for Montreal.
One and two.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem that Delino really enjoys playing this game. Maybe it's the pressure of that trade coming over and the expectations, you know, sizable salary, over $2 million, but around 26 to talk about retirement. A little bit strange there.
Very strange.
Well, maybe if he gets a base hit, the Dodgers, what, about 3 for 17 with runners in scoring position, he'll brighten up. I know it'll put a smile on Tommy's face. But a lot of skills. You know, they thought he'd come over, hit for a decent average, 280, 290, steal a bunch of bases. There's Tommy. Good range at second base. Not the softest of hands, but speed to get to balls.
And he goes down swinging as David Wells strikes DeShields out for the second time, and that's 5 strikeouts now for the Reds left-hander. It will bring up Raul Mondesi. Monday Night Football this Monday comes your way from Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. The San Diego Chargers, 3-2, try to rebound after they lost to Pittsburgh last week, and the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's Steve Bono in your picture there, who scored on that bootleg against Arizona last week with no Cardinal in the picture. The Chiefs 4-1, Chargers and Chiefs on Monday Night Football.
What did he go, about 83 yards or something?
70. I thought it was 76, I think. Well, I can only do one sport at a time. Here, hold on. It's hit in the air to shallow center field, and it will drop in for a base hit. Karros will come in to score, and so the Dodgers get an unearned run here in the 4th inning, a looping single off the bat of Mondesi, and that makes it 2-1 Cincinnati.
Well, great power, didn't need it this time. Again, a curveball. Wells, after the error, had gotten 2 successive outs on the breaking ball, and that time Mondesi right off the end of the bat. And yeah, you can smile. That's an RBI, and it keeps the inning alive. Puts a run on the board.
And it brings up Roberto Kelly. The count. Mondesi at first, 2 down. And that's grounded to the hole, and that's a base hit. Now remember, Mondesi has the gimpy knee and has to stop at second base. Raul quick, good base runner normally, but under these circumstances, it's one station at a time. Despite the smile. So Kelly with a single, and now Lasorda is in a situation where it's too early in the game, and he's kind of trapped. The other night, he got into a situation, I believe, in the 6th inning where you might or might not have hit for Ismael Valdez in a tie game. He opted to let him hit, and Valdez went out, and the inning was over. Here in the 4th inning, though, you have to let Nomo bat.
If it's the 6th, you pinch hit for Nomo. Maybe even the 5th, but not in the 4th.
And here is your big difference, American and National League. No pitchers sitting over there in the American League with that DH.
Outfield very shallow with Nomo hitting, and with Mondesi with that bad leg, it will be difficult for him to score if Nomo hits a ball hard at one of the outfielders.
Nomo, an .091 hitter during the regular season, takes a strike. He was 6 for 66.
Again, going back to that one hitter we did up in San Francisco, got 2 hits in his first RBI.
Yeah.
Mondesi at second. Kelly at first. No balls, 1 strike to count. 0-2.
Okay, that curveball does drop off the table. You call it a yacker, they call it the yellow hammer, and they say a good curveball just appears like it gets up to that table and just drops off.
And Wells has to work on him like he's a cleanup hitter in this situation. 1-run game, 2 men aboard. And the 0-2 is low. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Fourth inning, Reds 2, Dodgers 1. 1-2 on Nomo. Struck him out. 6 strikeouts. And the Dodgers have strained at 5, but they get a run, an unearned run here in the 4th inning thanks to the Sanders error. After 3.5, 2-1 Cincinnati. Bottom of the 4th inning at Cincinnati. Reds 2, Dodgers 1. And Benito Santiago to lead off for the Reds. He'll be followed by Brett Boone and Jeff Branson. Benito walked in the 2nd inning. A lot of ways to describe Nomo's delivery. There was an illustration in the paper here this morning, and it says the beginning of it is like a cat stretching. Perfect way to describe it. 2-0.
Yeah, I think the important thing, though, is, I think most pitching coaches don't want you to take a big step back and get on your heel. So he raises his arm up if we look at the forkball or the splitter that hangs inside. But he doesn't really get off balance. He stays pretty much, as we look at some of his fans, stays right over the pitching rubber.
2-1.
How about the guy at the plate? I mean, another story. Jim Bowden again going out. Maybe we could always use a guy that can hit with power, a good defensive catcher. Santiago last year, made $3.3 million, signed him for $500,000 out of the Homestead free agent camp down in Florida. Now he's the regular catcher.
3-1 the count.
See him hang over the rubber, and again, all that torque. I'm not sure that's a windup you'd like to do for 15 or 20 years.
In the air to right field, and Mondesi is there. 1 gone. John Saunders.
Now the Rockies with a 3-0 lead in the 4th inning until Ryan Klesko reaches out, pokes this one down the line in left field. Fred McGriff trots around to score. 3-1, but they're not done. Javier Lopez comes up with a couple on, back up the box. The infield was drawn in. Justice is in. Klesko is in. Ties the game at 3 apiece. The Braves have come back from down 3-0. It's all tied up in the 5th inning. The Yankees and the Mariners, it was 1-0 New York in the 5th. But Tino Martinez with a runner aboard off Jack McDowell. That's deep to center field. The 2-run home run. Edgar Martinez was also aboard. And right now the Mariners lead 2-1 in the 6th. Al, Jim, and Tim.
And back in Cincinnati, Brett Boone has just hit one over the wall in center field to make it 3-1. A 1-0 pitch from Nomo.
Bret Boone had 10 home runs in the month of July. He went 193 at-bats before homering on the last day of the season against Montreal, and here it is, his first postseason home run.
What did you tell us yesterday? I live for the high fastball, and that's exactly what he got.
Yep.
Now Branson looks at a strike and the count 0-1.
Bret Boone also telling us yesterday, Jim, about the influence Edgar Martinez had on him when he was with Seattle.
Grounded to third. Wallach from his knees. One third baseman throws out the other. 2 gone.
And Edgar Martinez hasn't missed too many pitches this year either. In the American League.
What, you win a batting title in '92 if you're Edgar Martinez. So when you get a chance to counsel a youngster like Bret Boone, as it was up in Seattle, Bret Boone paid attention. But he told us, love the ball out over the plate, love to get my arms extended, love to hit the high fastball. 1-0, what do you look for? You high fastball and you get it.
That's Tom Candiotti, normally a starter in the Dodger bullpen, as Wells lifts one to center field, and that one will be corralled by Butler. But home runs by Gant and Boone tonight. And at the end of 4, it is Cincinnati 3, Los Angeles 1.
Sure.
Downtown Cincinnati, and this town was really revitalized when this stadium was built. It opened up in 1970 and hosted the World Series before it was a year old. That was the Brooks Robinson series, the Reds against the Baltimore Orioles, and yet here it is 25 years later, and they're already thinking about a new park. Apparently there's going to be an election in February, or at least a referendum, a vote to determine whether the sales tax should be raised and new stadiums to be built for the Reds and or the Bengals. As the first pitch to Butler in the 5th inning is taken for a strike. So what was a state-of-the-art facility a quarter of a century ago all of a sudden becomes an antique.
They don't make parks like they used to. 25 years old to me seems very young for a park to be torn down.
Yes. Well, Crosley Field was in existence for
100 years.
Yeah, at least. Well,
80 years,
70 years, whatever it was. The score is rolling by for you. Indians now 3-1 over the Red Sox. Down on Butler, 1-2.
Now, you talked earlier about Brett Butler, the death of his mother earlier this year, and David Wells, on the other hand, asked us if we would say hello to his mother, who is going in for very serious surgery after following a stroke. His mother, Ann, living in Los Angeles.
And we wish her the very best as Butler strikes out here. It's the second time Brett has struck out in the game, and son David has now struck out 7.
Yeah. I'll tell you, he is using all his pitches. And the one thing I always liked about David Wells, I mean, yes, he's flaky. He's got a terrific arm, but he's got a feel for pitching. And he has thrown the fastball in pretty good spots tonight, inside to the righties, away to the lefties, and then dropping that big curveball.
Now Fonville at the plate, taking all the way, looks at a strike.
You know, Jim, the connotation of that word flaky is thought to be bad. The word flaky in baseball does not always have a negative connotation. It can be a very positive influence. And, you know, a guy in the foxhole with you, a guy like David Wells, cool under fire.
Well, you know, the one thing, he's not afraid to throw the ball over the plate. And that can be a big fear when things don't go well for you. You start nibbling. But, you know, he had pretty good situation in the first day up in Toronto because they had outstanding ball clubs, and that's how he got that postseason experience. Told me that I learned how to pitch in Tiger Stadium because very difficult place to pitch and not a very mobile defense. And over here, the ball does jump, but he's got some gazelles that'll run it down in the outfield and the infield.
He's 1-2 with Fonville, 1 out in the Fifth inning, Cincinnati leading 3-1.
Sometimes, especially in postseason, if you have a serious demeanor and a serious attitude, that could be your worst enemy. You got to find a way to allow your natural ability to flow, and David Wells certainly appears to have found that formula.
Fastball away. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, I think in talking of Pete Shorrock, who pitched a pretty good game, marvelous game in the first game, he said, Frank Viola, who had a lot of postseason, he said, told me, have a good time, enjoy it. How many times you get to pitch in a division series if we take a look at ball just off the corner.
And he tries to fight it off, and on a check swing, grounds out to Morris unassisted.
But you do bring up a great point, because you are under pressure. But I'll tell you what, there's no better way to go out there than to have a 2-0 lead if you're David Wells.
Mike Piazza, 2 out in the 5th inning, and the base is empty. In his last 3 years, you take a look at Mike leading major league catchers in each category. So if you had a triple crown for catchers, he would have won it. And those are some fabulous numbers. That average was second only to Tony Gwynn this year. 32 home runs, and he missed a lot of action. He was hurt early in the season. And with the shortened season as well, had he not been hurt and had it been a regular year, he might have had close to 40 home runs.
Not only that, but a related statistic, Mike Piazza this year won the Triple Crown on the road for all hitters in the National League. Home runs, RBIs, and batting average. 384 hitter on the road. Hits much better on the road than at Dodger Stadium.
Davey Johnson talking about how much and how great power he has the opposite way, and how well he'll wait. I think the problem with Mike is that in a short series, as you look at the numbers there, home and road, short series, you try to do a lot of things yourself, and he has really been aggressive.
That looks like Dante Bichette in reverse, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Speaking of Dante Bichette, his Rockies have just taken a 5-3 lead on a 2-run homer by Vinny Castilla in the 6th inning. And that's hit softly to shallow right field. Sanders charges in and makes the catch. And it's a 3-up, 3-down inning at the end of 4.5. Reds 3, Dodgers 1. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning in Cincinnati. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver. The Cincinnati Reds trying to sweep this series and open up Tuesday night in the NLCS here against either Atlanta or Colorado. They lead 3-1 as we go to the bottom of the 5th inning, and the top of the order to face Hideo Nomo with Howard, Larkin, and Gant. Howard, a switch hitter, has twice flied to left, and Nomo starts him with a strike. Count 0-2. In the Dodger bullpen, Kevin Tapani is the right-hander. Mark Guthrie is the left-hander. Guthrie is a regular reliever. Tapani has been starting, but as we said before, don't look for Candiotti or Tapani tomorrow night. If the Dodgers keep this alive, they will try to come back with Ramon Martinez. Unless everybody's in the bullpen tonight. Everybody. No balls, 2 strikes the count with nobody out. John Saunders.
Well, the Rockies and the Braves tied at 3 in the 6th inning. Runner aboard, Smoltz against Vinny Castilla, and he shows his power. Left center field, gone for the home run, breaking the tie. The Rockies back on top, 5-3 now in the 6th inning. The Yankees and the Mariners, the bases loaded. 2-1 the score. Don Mattingly against Randy Johnson, and he strikes out for the 3rd time in the game, only the 6th time that's ever happened in his career. 2-1 Mariners. Al, Jim, and Tim.
Good report, John. Lose the music. No balls, 2 strikes the count in the bottom of the 5th inning. 3-1 Reds. And Howard gone on strikes. So Nomo picks up his 5th strikeout. And it will bring up Larkin.
Well, good fastball. Most of the strikeouts have been on the splitter. Fastball maybe not as sharp as it was early, but again, a tired shoulder, split middle finger of the pitching hand. And he has pitched about Tommy Lasorda. I said, why the velocity loss? He said a lot of innings, and a lot of tough innings.
Nomo with 5 strikeouts tonight, and Larkin at the plate 2 for 2 with 2 singles, has scored a run and stolen 2 bases. 5 for 10 in the series. We were talking about the Dodgers and whether Wallach would retire, and the fact that Butler probably won't be back, and the question about that man Tom Lasorda. There's also a question about Nomo. Remember, they only signed him to a 1-year contract.
Right.
And I would think his bargaining power would be pretty good.
I think also the amazing thing about Nomo is you don't find too many pitchers in the major leagues that have that kind of success with only 2 pitches. Doesn't have a curveball, but very rarely ever throws it.
Well, that splitter acts like 2 or 3 pitches
when it's on. You're right.
Right.
And that's ripped just foul. With John McSherry right there, you've got in postseason play 6 umpires, and you could not have had a closer look than McSherry. He's right there.
If he'd had a glove, he would have fielded it.
Yep. I'm not sure he wanted to look at it, but he was right there.
Couldn't help it.
There's a lot of action down there. I mean, you've got 2 pitchers in the bullpen, and the stands are right there.
Yep.
And the ball's coming at you.
Yeah, you don't want to wander into the fire of Mark Guthrie warming up.
And you're not that far down the line. And there's a crowd down there. And that's squibbed off the end of the bat down to DeShields. 2 down. And it will bring up Gant. Gant, a shot in the 3rd inning with Larkin at first base and 1 out. Rips one into the 2nd level in left field.
Well, thanks to Steve Hurt, we know that in the history of the game, after a player missing an entire year, only Dave Winfield and Tony Conigliaro have hit 20 home runs the year before and 20+ home runs the year after. Gant, one of these guys. I mean, that's another stretch for Cincinnati to sign this guy after breaking your leg and then have him have the year he had.
A big risk by Jim Bowden to sign Ron Gant. No question about it.
Gant had a tremendous contract with Atlanta that was in effect voided when the Braves opted to release him after the motorbike accident. And now Gant, I believe he's eligible to be a He is a free agent at the end of the season as well.
He and Hal Morris both.
.2-0 missing in the count. Where the 2-0 is in for a strike. 2-1.
Reds payroll this year $38 million. So it's going to be a matter of whether Marge Schott wants to dole out the money to both Gant and Morris to keep them.
That's in there. The count 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Of course, I don't think anybody can ever criticize Marge for spending money at the big league level.
That's right. Up here she will, but not down below.
Right. It's the ancillary things that she seems to sometimes forget the importance about, like scouts.
Like saving $5 on press paper.
Sure.
$5 a day.
That is some postseason media guide they put out.
Hey, it adds up, guys.
That's hitting to left field for a base hit. So Gant with a single. I mean, Shotzi wouldn't even do anything with their postseason media guide.
Well,
maybe. 2-out single for Gant. And as You look at Marge Schott's box, it will bring up Sanders. Cincinnati. 2 out in the 5th inning. And Gant at first base. One and 0. Sanders emerging, one of the homegrown Reds. He was drafted by Cincinnati, came up through their organization. One of the reasons he hasn't been, I guess, acclaimed as much as you would think is because of the presence of Larkin, and also the fact for a while he wasn't even the most famous Sanders on the team with Dion here.
No, but he was the best baseball player.
He was the best Sanders. There's no question about that, even though Dion was a pretty good player and a guy that they really didn't want to give up.
Yeah, this guy is a 5-tool player. He can do it all.
Little squiver up the third base line and has enough English on it to bounce foul.
I mean, you know, Jim Bowden talking about, you know, the way they try to get players through their minor leagues. He said, first of all, he said, I want the best talent. He said, we'll turn them into something, you know, make them shortstops, make them outfielders. And Reggie Sanders can hit for power. He can for average. He can run 36 steals. Great arm.
Field and throw.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing left.
Yeah.
Compared to Eric Davis when he first came up, and interestingly, he holds his bat about as low as Eric Davis used to.
Well, we were talking about Reggie and 2 of a kind, and who would his career parallel at this particular point? Well, George Foster through 76 at the same age. The interesting thing there to note is that Foster's career really took off at that point. I mean, George had done fairly well up until then, and then he became for a while a superstar.
And he had 52 home runs in 1977. That allowed him 5 years later to sign a huge contract with the New York Mets, at that time about $2 million a year. Now it's twice as much as the average salary.
And the difficulty if you're Nomo is that this guy can hit him out anywhere. I mean, 11 home runs to the opposite field. That's second to Piazza in the National League.
Half swing, strike.
I mean, it's obvious to me they don't want to have to throw this guy a fastball for a strike unless they have to. Try to get him out with a splitter.
1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. Bottom of the 5th inning.
Again, a running situation right here with Ron Gant. If he's thrown out stealing seconds, you have a Reggie Sanders starting anew in the 6th inning. He was going too.
Almost had him leaning the other way.
But if you take a look at his lead, probably about maybe a 1.5 feet shorter than Larkin. Larkin's foot way out on the carpet.
He goes, good jump, but Sanders strikes out swinging. And the Reds are done in the 5th. To the 6th we go. Cincinnati 3, Los Angeles 1. Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, and Tim McCarver. Guys, you know, you never know when an era will end sometimes. And we're not going to say that Tommy Lasorda won't be back, but it's conceivable, it's possible that Peter O'Malley will decide it's time for a change. If so, it's conceivable this is the last game Lasorda manages for the Dodgers.
And if so, who in the Dodger organization is prepared to manage? And there's the man who will decide, Peter O'Malley. Fred Clare, the general manager. Dodgers with only 2 managers for the last 43 years.
Yeah, Tommy's 19th year, past Earl Weaver. Actually, I started the season tied with Earl. I think we're up to 15th in the all-time, now the 14th winningest manager of all time.
Well, Tommy has seen the ups and the downs, but this series at this point has to be about as frustrating as any he's seen in a while, as Karros leads off with a base hit. The other night in a game that the Dodgers had every chance to win, they did not. And tonight they find themselves down 3-1, and one of the very key plays in tonight's game would have been the play with Fonville at the plate in the third inning, when Chad had beaten the throw on Piazza's double but had not touched home plate, and then Santiago tagged him, and that ended that inning. And then 2 home runs given up by Nomo, and the Dodgers have to get up off the deck in the 6th inning, 3-1.
Second brilliant play by Santiago, by the way. One in Wednesday night's game on the throw from Branson, and then the play tonight.
Pitch to Wallach is up high, ball 1.
Meanwhile, what about Eric Karros? Is he on fire and locked in? 3 for 3 tonight. He's now 7 for 11 in the series.
Coming off a tremendous year. He has 2 hits tonight, plus the reach on
that was the error. Right, he's 2 for 3.
I gave him a double anyway, Timmy. I mean, he hit the ball hard enough. I mean, you know, tough play. Not a very forgiving scorekeeper.
And it led to the Dodgers' only run. Well, he hit it hard, but that was an error.
Yeah, that was an E9.
Dave Burba, who came over from the Giants earlier this season, throwing in the bullpen. Their closer is Jeff Brantley, but you won't see him until the 8th or 9th. Karros at first base. Nobody out in the 6th inning. And Wallach pops it to shallow right field and over into the corner, and Sanders has room. 1 gone now in the 6th inning. Wallach is 0 for 3, and Delino DeShields, who has struck out twice, comes up. Wide World of Sports comes your way Sunday, 4 Eastern and 1 Pacific. The World Gymnastics Championships featuring Shannon Miller and others from Japan this Sunday. Now DeShields looks at a strike. Delino in this series is 2 for 10.
Now it may be that Kevin Tapani and or Mark Guthrie are ready, but the Dodgers, I would think, would have to have somebody up and warm, because if DeShields gets on, then you've got Mondesi and Kelly, and yet nobody's warming in the bullpen.
Strike, and the count 0-2.
There's still time, obviously.
DeShields is the number 6 hitter.
Right.
Yeah, they're going to have to do what they haven't been able to do, which was to get some sustained offense. And it seems like every time Wells gets into trouble, you know, a guy like DeShields come up, a left-hander. He's already struck out twice, and now David ahead of him 0-2.
And down he goes, and that's 3 times tonight that DeShields has struck out.
Well, the one thing David Wells was penciled in, maybe to get left-handers out in the bullpen. Davey Johnson starts him, and tonight Butler, he's 0 for 3 with 2 punch-outs. Now DeShields 3 for 3, down on strikes 3 times. And look at Tommy. Can't believe it.
The look of a man who has managed over 1,000 one-run games in his illustrious career. Mariners now leading 5-1 in Seattle. Mondesi at the plate. Looks at a strike. 0-1.
Well, now you do Monday Night Football up in Seattle. I got to think the way they supported baseball the last 10 days, that a major home field advantage, which you don't usually have in baseball up in Seattle now with all those people.
I would think.
Yep.
At least with the stadium filled. Randy Johnson gives you pretty good home field advantage too.
What? 30 starts, 27 wins, and won 27 of his 30 starts.
1-1 the count. Tom Candiotti throwing in the Dodger bullpen. Mondesi was thrown out of the game the other night because he uttered something from the on-deck circle after a call on DeShields, and our sources tell us he uttered the magic word. The thing about the magic word, if you say it in adjectival form, you're okay, but if it's, let's say, an interjection or a command, the magic word will get you thrown out.
Yeah, but what did Tommy tell us, Tim? He said, I will bring Mondesi in here and I'll give you $1,000 if you can understand anything he says.
That's right.
So he's saying, how could the umpire throw him out? $1,000.
In the dirt, 2 balls and 1 strike.
David Wells used a slide step there. There's no need for a slide step with Eric Karros on at first base and a guy who can tie the ball game at the plate. As a matter of fact, Mike Piazza, the ball he hit down the left field line was on the slide step. But you're needlessly worrying about a runner at first base. As a matter of fact, if I'm Hal Morris, I don't even hold him on.
No.
But that comes from the bench. I mean, the Reds are up 2 runs, not 1. But no slide step in this situation. Forget it.
You know, especially when you're throwing a curveball. When you slide step, you jump out so quickly to the plate. Very hard to get your arm up and on top of the curveball. Flattens it out, makes most likely you'll hang it. You'll lose a little bit of velocity and placement on your fastball. He's doing just fine the way he's doing it. You know, and maybe Benito's going to go out and talk about this.
Benito probably saying, forget about these slide stepping breaking balls. Is that adjectival enough?
Yes, that is. You bleep you.
You've been digging in that thesaurus again.
Yeah, right.
Now, Stephen Wright, the comedian, says, what's another word for thesaurus?
That's right. Wells ready, and that's lifted in the air to left field and medium deep and playable for Ronnie Gant. And that's that. They squander a leadoff single by Karros. To the bottom of the 6th, it's 3-1 Cincinnati.
Yankees and the Mariners. Steve Howe is in to face Tino Martinez with the bases loaded, and Tino delivers his 3rd run batted in of the night. An RBI single scoring Coleman. The bases are still loaded when Jay Buhner comes up, and he sends one to the opposite field to make it a 4-1 game. Mike Blowers drove in a run to make it 5-1. Then Luis Sojo, sacrifice fly. Tino Martinez tags up, scores easily. 6-1 is the lead. The Mariners over top of the Yankees, and with the big unit on, you can expect that one to hold up. Indians and the Red Sox in the 6th inning. Paul Sorrento not fooled by the knuckleball. That's a single. Eddie Murray, who had singled, comes in to score to make it 4-1. Sandy Alomar had a double to score Ramirez to make it 5-1. Then Descal up with a little single. 2 more come in, make it a 7-1 count. Then Carlos Baerga has just doubled in another. The Indians ready to put the capper on this series, 8-1 in the 6th. Back to Al, Jim and Tim.
Okay, John, and on a shot to the right side off the bat of Hal Morris, Eric Karros cannot come up with it, and the Reds have the leadoff man on here in the bottom of the 6th inning.
During those updates, Jim and I looked at one another, and we both had the same thoughts. Nomo is out there on guts and guile right now. He's lost 2 yards on his fastball.
Well, you know, Fred Clare, who's the general manager of the Dodgers, said, I mean, here's a young man that left Japan, all the security, financially, emotionally, came over here to pitch against the best players in the world. And he's had a marvelous year, but I tell you, he's out of gas. It's been a long one.
Yep.
Santiago at the plate.
That was a fastball, folks. His last pitch was a fastball, 77 miles per hour. That's not going to get a lot of guys out.
And I'll tell you what, you know, a lot of people are enamored by the radar gun, but I'll tell you, Dave Wallace, the pitching coach, knows. He can see that. And the hitters will tell you. Yeah, I think, excuse me, Al, but Fred Clare also saying the same thing. There's no better guy that we would like on our staff to pitch a must game than Nomo, even if he's not up to speed. And I mean, you're right. He's out there doing his best. But this is a very, very tough lineup because they hit for power and they'll run you out of the ballpark.
And Tommy Lasorda trying to nurse him through this inning because the pitcher spot is the 2nd spot up in the Dodgers 7th.
Chopper foul, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
But I can't think that would be a priority when you're 2 games down in a division play. I mean, you have to make a decision.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah, I think the decision has to be if you can make the double switch. The last guy who made it out is Mondesi, but you go back one more from that with the Shields. You're going to make a change because Delino tonight is 0 for 3. And has been punched out 3 times.
And then you'd have to bring in Offerman, though, and move Fonville to second base possibly. And I don't think the Dodgers want to do that in a close ball game.
No. Isn't it amazing the way in a postseason game everything, all of your shortcomings get magnified?
Yeah.
That's in the dirt. And Morris advances to second. So Nomo with what will be scored as a wild pitch. The rule of thumb being if you bounce one, it's a WP. Has a man at second base and nobody out.
Yeah, 19, as Tim McCarver told you early during the regular season, now 1 in the postseason.
Well, he's on borrowed time right now. I think if Tommy had better success from his bullpen in the other 2 ball games, the bullpen would already be in there. Somebody, either Tapani or Guthrie.
Crowd with a mocking "No Mo" chant. That's fouled away. at least it's better than the chants that we heard earlier this week in the series at Yankee Stadium with Ken Griffey.
Yeah.
That's when they were using they were using the interjection there and not the adjectival form. All 50,000. Two balls, 2 strikes to count.
I'll tell you, Santiago would like to get him over. And in. Get him to third base.
Morris at second base. And a half swing, line drive, base hit into left field. Well, he gets him to third on a half swing single over the glove of the 5'6" Fonville. Ripken would have had it.
So would Offerman.
Right.
Yeah. This is good hitting by Santiago. You might say, well, that's a lucky hit right there. There's no luck is a fact, rarely a factor. And the fact was he was in good hitting position there, and that's going to be all for Nomo.
Dave Wallace to the mound to make the switch. Brilliant year, this game notwithstanding, for Hideo Nomo, who came to this country and really captured everybody's fancy. Wound up starting the All-Star game and has to leave here in the 6th. We'll be right back. This Division Series game is being brought to you by Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. Network MCI, how to get modern communications technology working for your business. And Gillette Sensor and the Gillette Series. Gillette, the best a man can get. Hideo Nomo. Will he win Rookie of the Year? Well, it's either Nomo or Chipper Jones. A lot of people think that he shouldn't be eligible, or some do, because he has a lot of experience pitching in what amounts to the Japanese Major League. But the rules simply state first year in these major leagues and you're eligible. The bigger question is for Nomo, will he be back again as a Dodger next year?
I think that's a no-brainer. I think they've got to sign him. I think he's put them in a position where they've got to sign him.
Yeah, Fred Claire talked. He said, listen, we gave him $2 million to come over from Japan. That's not that much more than you sign a guy out of high school or college. So they have the money, and he certainly had a great year for him.
Brett Boone, as the Reds try to break it open, runners at first and third and nobody out. And the infield has to play back at double play depth, so a ground ball to either of the middle infielders will result in a 4-1 lead.
Well, if you're a middle infielder here and the ball's not hit sharply, your play may be at home. I think I'd play the middle infielders halfway here. That way, that gives them the option to come home or go for the double play. If they see Morris break from third, they come home with the ball. I don't think you can afford to give up another run right here. I think you move the infielders in just a bit. Right. Not all the way in, but halfway.
And Kevin Tapani, he's been paying attention. He noticed that the pitch that Boone hit for the home run was a high fastball. It's got a good slurve and a great changeup. And that's what he throws right there. A ball that he throws like a palm ball, almost acts like a split finger.
Well, number 1 on his wish list right here is a strikeout. And number 2 is a double play bouncer by Branson next.
Well, he pitched a third of an inning in game 2, gave up 3 walks and 2 runs.
Foul back, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes.
You have to be very patient right here in this hitting situation. Left-handed batter on deck. Tommy Lasorda bring in Guthrie. Tapani, as you said, Al, going for the strikeout. Probably that slider off the plate and down. The same pitch he threw on the 0-1 count.
Ooh, just missing. 3-2.
Send the runner here?
I would.
You know, I wouldn't. And it's rare because a double play scores a run.
You convinced me. I didn't think about that aspect of it. And it's the old fake to third and try to get the guy leaning at first.
You know, it's amazing. You wouldn't think that works, but it does. Guys will try it. Jack McDowell, one of the best in the American League, and maybe 2, 3 times. Get an aggressive runner at first, wants to get that big lead, and he gets picked off.
If Santiago were running and Boone strikes out, you throw Santiago out at second base, then you have 2 outs and Morris on at third. Not cut and dry. It's an interesting. It's a very fascinating
situation here. And he doesn't go, and the pitch is in the dirt, and the bases are loaded.
Hey, Tommy running the risk of bringing a starting pitcher into relief. Now 4 walks in less than a third of an inning.
And
for Tapani.
That'll do it for Tapani as he faces the 1 man, and now Guthrie comes in with Branson due up, but Davey Johnson could go to the bench here as the Reds try to crack it open. Pitching change here. Let's check in with John Saunders.
The Braves are trying to fight back from down 5-3 against the Rockies. Munoz pitching to Mike Mordecai, and he finds the gap as Ryan Klesko comes in to score. Cuts it down to a 5-4 lead, but Leskanic gets out of the inning without further damage. And right now the Rockies still lead 5-4. It's in the 8th. Al, Jim, and Tim.
Rockies try to stay alive in that series, with the Braves leading 2-0. Mark Guthrie comes in, and the Reds go to their bench as Mark Lewis, who platoons with Branson at third base, will come up to hit here. And in the Cincinnati bullpen, their setup man, Mike Jackson, loosening up. Their short man is Brantley. A reminder, college football comes your way tomorrow at noon Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific time. Ohio State, ranked 5th in the country and coming off their win against Notre Dame, taking on Penn State. And then you will see the Irish at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific against Washington. College football tomorrow right here on ABC.
You have Mark Guthrie in the game, as you said, the pinch hitter Mark Lewis. So both trying to make their marks, I guess you could say. And David Wells is also on deck. I think in a situation like this, you should have the pinch hitter, and you got Mike Jackson warming up. So Davey Johnson's probably going to pinch hit for David Wells. And if you have a hitter on deck, then the on-deck hitter knows what to tell the base runner. A pitcher knows nothing about what goes through a mind of a base runner, whether to get down on a slide, play in the outfield, shallow play in the outfield where you've got to play at home plate. So since you're going to make the change anyway to a pinch hitter, you might as well have him in the on-deck circle so he can help the runner out.
Why don't you manage?
No, thank you.
But he does about 78 times a year on WWOR.
Oh, man.
Didn't you teach a
I've
lot?
been accused of that before by Davy Johnson.
Exactly. Yes, you have. You got him that good. He must have listened. He probably went home and listened to all the tape.
I had nothing to do with that.
Mariners now leading 6-2 as the Yankees get a run in the 7th. Here.
They get the pinch hit with a guy that hit .339 during the regular season. 3 home runs, 30 RBIs.
And the infield in is Mark Lewis. Looks at a strike, and the count is 0-1. And now Dave Johnson, heeding the advice of one T-Mac, sends Mariano Duncan into the on-deck circle. One and one. 3 runs, 7 hits, and an error for the Reds. 1 run, 6 hits, and no errors for the Dodgers. Nobody out. Bases loaded. Bottom of the 6th.
Check out those numbers. Started all 35 games at third base for the Reds against left-handed pitching.
Now back. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, Mark Guthrie, they got him along with Tapani to help their bullpen, and he can be tough, especially when he gets ahead. He's got a good splitter. So if you're looking for a ground ball, especially a strikeout in this situation, he can get it.
Well, this is his only batter with Estacio, the right-hander, warming up. He'll come in to pitch to Duncan.
Two and 2.
You don't want it to go much past 2-2 with the bases loaded. But you do not want to have to give in to a guy that's been very, very tough against left-handed hitting. So get him here. Make your pitch.
John Cummings is the lefty. Anastasio, the former starter. And that's hit in the air to left field and over the head of Kelly, who goes all the way back to the track and watches it go out for a grand slam.
Davy Johnson talked about a guy, Mark Lewis, born 30 miles from here. He said, first of all, you want to win a pennant, you want to use your whole roster. And right here, you'll see him almost pass Brett Boone at first.
And a curtain call for Lewis, and Wells bats for himself.
Davy Johnson saying nobody works harder than Mark Lewis out here at 2 o'clock. A guy that was always going to be the next shortstop in Cleveland gets traded to the Reds and hits a grand slam in a division series.
And that's grounded to short, surrounded by Fonville. And no, he doesn't get him. Wells beats it out. I think Lewis's grand slam gave Wells the adrenaline he needed to beat this one out.
It also gave Davy Johnson the option now of bringing Duncan back and leaving Wells in the ball game as he beats the play at first base. He only had 4 hits during the regular season.
I think he'll refer, I legged it out.
Yeah.
And Dave Wallace goes to the mound, and he wants the right-hander, Pedro Estacio, to come in to face Howard. So it comes apart for the Dodgers here in the 6th inning. Still nobody out, and it's 7-1 Cincinnati. Well, Tommy Lasorda watched his team in game one get knocked out, in effect. 4 runs in the first for the Reds. He has seen a lot of frustrating games in his career, and right up there would have been the second game in this series. And then tonight, early on, he watches his team put 2 men on in the second inning when Kelly fouls out. In the third inning, Fonville misses home plate on a play that would have made it 1-0 Dodgers, kept the inning alive with Piazza at second and Caros coming up. Then he watches Nomo give up 2 home runs in his 5+ innings of work, and then the grand slam here in the 6th inning. And so Tom Lasorda, in his 19th season, and wondering, along with every Dodger fan, whether there will be a 20th, sees his team here in the 6th inning, trailed by 6, and in a pretty much impossible situation. And that impossibility is reflected in the look exhibited by Peter O'Malley, the owner and president of the team. Darren Lewis will pinch hit for Thomas Howard and face Pedro Estacio, and he squares and takes high, ball 1, 1-0.
And this move is all about defense. Yep. And bunting. Davy Johnson realizing Eric Karros is playing off the bag at first. David Wells, pretty fast runner, as he's shown on that infield hit. But Lewis up there appearing to bunt.
And he bunts in the air, and Piazza makes a nice play for the out. So 1 down here in the 6th inning, and it will bring up Barry Larkin. There have been, counting the games in progress tonight, as we look at Piazza again making that play.
Nice play.
793 postseason games, as we pointed out before. Division Series, League Championship Series, World Series games. That was the first pinch hit grand slam ever in postseason. Wow. And it's ironic because before the game we were talking with Hal McRae, the Reds hitting instructor, and McRae was a member of the 1972 Reds and came up in the 7th game against the A's as a pinch hitter in the middle of the game. It was the 5th or 6th inning, and came within about 4 feet of hitting a pinch hit grand slam home run. A's eventually won the game, and there is Hal McRae, father of the Cubs Brian, and a great player and a real battler in his own right, Hal McRae. But McRae came within about 4 feet of hitting one out.
Tell you, in one tough out, 290 lifetime hitter, could hit it anywhere and go deep. When I mean, he hit the ball to right field as well as anybody. And then when you pitched him in, he'd jerk it down the left field line for a home run.
Oh, 1 to Larkin is inside. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Talk about unusual. Bob Boone, the son or the father of Brett Boone, is now being tutored by Hal McRae, and Bob Boone was the manager of Brian McRae, traded him to Chicago when Bob Boone took over Hal McRae's job as manager of the Kansas City Royals.
Well, a lot of features have been done recently on especially with the Reds, the father-son combinations through the years with Pete and Petey Rose, with Tony and Eduardo Perez and Pedro Borbon and Pedro Jr. and McRae and Brian, and of course Bob Boone never played here. And there's another guy who played with the Reds in the early 70s they keep forgetting about when they do those father and son things, as it's fouled away. Even though Ed Sprague was not really a member of the Big Red Machine, Ed pitched here, off and on spot relief in the early 70s. And his son, not a bad third baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Say Bob Boone never played here, and certainly he didn't, but he was a coach here for the Cincinnati Reds last year.
Right. Something in the water, huh? Right out of the Ohio River. Pop foul, back a third, out of play. Speaking of Boone, and we're talking about father-son combos, his father hit a home run in postseason play. In fact, he hit 2 And with Brett's home run tonight, they become the first father-son combination in baseball history to each homer in a postseason game. Booney hit 2 home runs as a member of his father did, the California Angels, one in the '82 playoffs and one in the '86 playoffs. And then his grandfather Ray Boone, of course, going way back with the Indians. But Steve Hurt has already looked it up, and Ray never hit a postseason home run.
I don't know whether Ray was ever in postseason.
Well, one. I think he had
one at bat.
He played us with the 48 Indians.
One at bat. 48 Indians.
Yep, sure.
Then he went on to Detroit. Fine player, the grandfather of Brett Boone.
Three-two to Larkin with a runner going. Is hit to center field, and Wells has to hustle back as Butler makes the catch. So Wells has pitched 6 innings, probably nearing 100 pitches. Then he legs on an infield hit, and they send him, and he does a wind sprint back to first base. Outside of that, he's at the night off.
Rather skittish at first base, wouldn't you say? Scampers back.
Scampers? I'm not sure if David Wells can scamper.
Now Gant, who got the Reds going with a 2-run homer in the 3rd. Strike. Another benefit the Reds would have if they sweep this series is they'll be able to have their rotation set up perfectly for the league championship series, and they would probably start Pete Shurik. And I know Dave Johnson was hopeful that Shurik could get a little extra rest because his elbow has been a little tender. Instead of pitching him in the 5th game here on Sunday, which would be the decisive game of a 5-game series, if the Reds win tonight, Shurik will be pitching on 7 days rest on Tuesday. And Don Gullett, the pitching coach, would be very pleased about that as well. Rockies 5, Braves 4, going to the top of the 9th inning in the South. Gant, the 8th man to bat, 6th inning, 7-1 Cincinnati. Grounded, just foul, they say. And boy, I'll tell you from here, that definitely looked fair. It looked like it might have even hit the base. Ray Knight is right there, but the third base umpire, Charlie Relaford.
Well, the ball went over the bag.
It's not where the ball lands after it goes over the bag. If it hits the ground before the bag. That's a fair ball. That's a fair ball.
Sure it is, yeah.
That's a fair ball.
It not only passed in fair ground, it landed on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a fair ball.
Yep. Well,
right on the line.
On the outside of the line, but clearly as it passes the bag, it's a fair ball.
Oh, clearly fair.
So the count is 1-2. And it's outside.
Talk about Shurik being ready for the Atlanta Braves or the Colorado Rockies next Tuesday. If the Atlanta Braves lose tonight, they have to start Greg Maddux tomorrow night. So sometimes it's not that you win a divisional series, but how you win it.
Half swing. And that is called strike 3 on an appeal. But in the inning, 8 men come to the plate. The Reds get 4 on the Lewis grand slammer. 7-1, and back we come after that. Stations.
The Reds trying to close out the sweep of the Dodgers. The Mariners trying to stave off the sweep by the Yankees. And Tino Martinez, a little fly ball. He was 3 for 3 to this point. Randy Velarde will hold Coleman at third unless the throw gets away from everyone, and it does. Coleman trots in to score. And right now, the Mariners have a 7-2 lead in the 7th inning. Now, Jim and Tim.
And here in the 7th inning, the Reds have a 7-1 lead with Roberto Kelly leading off. David Wells has gone all the way, and the count 2 balls and no strikes. Darren Lewis stays in the game in center. He hit for Thomas Howard, and the man of the moment, Mark Lewis, who hit the pinch hit grand slam, stays in the game at third.
That old song, Louie Louie, are very appropriate right here.
One thing about David Wells, a lot of things happened in that inning. The grand slam, the base hit. Long time since he's been out on the mound. And he immediately goes 3-0.
That song, by the way, Louie Louie, by the stories, and what a great story this is in Cincinnati. For this team with Davy Johnson, even if he goes all the way, he'll be somewhere else next year.
Meanwhile, it's the Executioners song in Los Angeles right now, as the Dodgers are in danger of going down in 3, trailing by 6. But Kelly has led off with a walk here in the 7th inning, and Mike Jackson is up again in the bullpen. Speaking of music, so to speak.
Both
Now,
Michael Jacksons wear one glove, too.
Yes, he does. Mitch Webster comes up to pinch hit in the 7th inning. And it's a strike, and the count 0-1. David Wells with 8 strikeouts in the history of the Cincinnati Reds, and it's the oldest franchise going. Hod Eller and Jose Rijo each with 9 strikeouts for their postseason mark, and then Rio had another game with 8, and Wells has 8 so far tonight. 1-1. Eller struck out those 9 in the World Series of 1919 against the White Sox, so there should be an asterisk there, as I think the White Sox were a little less than intent on hitting some of Hod Eller's pitches in that series. The old Black Sox scandal. To right field, and softly for Sanders. 1 out here in the 7th inning. And Butler coming up. Don Mattingly, in our Toyota Diamond Dust Quiz tonight, made his postseason debut the other night after 1,785 regular season games. Which Hall of Famer made his playoff debut with the A's in 1975 after 2,368 regular season games? I know the answer to that one.
You do?
I sure do. Yep, and he's in uniform as a coach these days in the National League. Pitch a strike here, and the count 0-1. John Cummings, the lefty, is in the bullpen.
75-8.
But think about somebody, a Hall of Famer now, who played 2,368 games. Many of them in succession.
Oh, I got him.
Okay.
Yep, got him. Thank you for the clue.
That's enough.
Okay.
1-1. Answer later.
Okay.
David Wells. He will not win the Ralph Lauren Award tonight. But it barely matters to Reds fans, as he has come in from Detroit, pitched very well down the stretch, and is on the verge right now of being on the positive side of a decision that will send the Reds into the next level of competition, the National League Championship Series. One and two the count. Two and two. Riverfront fairly quiet right now, but it's the calm before the storm, or it's a mini storm anyway. First time that a division series has been played under this format, and so it's like half a pennant that you're winning. That's grounded to third, scooped up by Lewis, but then juggled by him, and he has no play. So the hero with his bat has trouble with his glove here, and the Dodgers, still breathing, have runners at first and second and one out. And Chad Fonville coming up.
Yeah, they give Mark Lewis an error. Former shortstop came up as we may have a pitching change, but tell you what, third base a lot closer than shortstop.
Mike Jackson will come in, and the hand is for David Wells. Wells goes 6 1/3 tonight, winds up striking out 8. Gives up 1 run, and the 2 men on base are his responsibility, and 6 hits. And the only walk he yielded was the leadoff walk here in the 7th inning. So Mike Jackson comes in, and he will face a very key man for the Dodgers, who are down by 6, because with runners at first and second and 1 out, if Fonville can get on, well, then you've got Piazza and Karros. You're just where you want to be, and you're just where you need to be if you're the Dodgers to get back in the game.
And that won't be easy. I'll tell you what, Mike Jackson, elbow problems last year. David Johnson telling us before the game he had some shoulder problems early, nursed him along. You can look at the numbers. I mean, superlative. A hard slider. When he did have the tender elbow early in the year, he also worked on a sinking fastball, a little bit of a changeup, 2 pitches he really didn't have last year.
And the way he hurt that elbow was throwing the slider too soon in spring training, trying to impress Davey Johnson and Don Gullett, and trying to earn a job. And Davey said that Michael Jackson simply a casualty of the abbreviated spring training this year.
In fact, the whole pitching staff.
Yeah.
You know, Davey talking about the fact that most of these guys not finesse pitchers. There's David Wells. He's finessed his way for 8 strikeouts, but all the other guys hard throwers, and 20 days wasn't enough.
That's one of the reasons that the Cincinnati Reds started out 1-8 in their first 9 games.
1-8, and then they were 28-6 over their next 34. So here is Fonville. Runners at first and second with 1 out. 7th inning, 7-1 Cincinnati. Morris shallow at first, and the first pitch misses inside, ball 1. Fonville, switch hitter, batting left-handed for the first time tonight. One and 1. And he tries to bunt his way on, and Jackson's throw just gets him.
I'll tell you, that's some kind of great play, because that's the only way he can make that play, and that's to barehand the ball.
I didn't think he had a chance for him. Once that ball took the second bounce, I thought, forget it.
Right out of midair. You know, this is not something you work on in spring training. That's kind of routine.
He looked safe.
Now, whether he's safe or out's another story.
Yeah, it was a great play, but he looked safe. Very, very close.
And a very big play, because you got beats of that. You have the bases loaded.
Right.
You're down by 6, but you still have Piazza and Karros and Waller coming up.
Yep.
So Fonville not bunting for a sacrifice there. He's charged with an at-bat, bunting for a base hit, and the pitch is popped up off the bat of Piazza. Gant calls Larkin off, and that's that for the Dodgers in the 7th inning. They leave 2 more, and at the end of 6 1/2, 7-1 Cincy. Cincinnati leading 7-1 as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning. Here's John Saunders.
Here's the 1-1. Little looping fly ball, shallow right field. Walker coming on, diving try, did not come up with it. Heading for third is Klesko. Runners at first and third. Walker got to the ball, got a glove on it, but couldn't quite hang on. And Atlanta now with runners first and third, one man out, Mike Mordecai, the batter. He did not get much of a pitch to hit here. That wasn't even a strike. That was a foot outside, right off the end of the bat. Great effort here by Larry Walker, but he trapped the ball. And Ryan Klesko with the play in front of him there. Gets all the way around to third. Mordecai delivered a big run-scoring pinch hit single in game 2 to win the game for Atlanta, give them the go-ahead run. He had a pinch hit double and stayed in the game here. We're in the bottom half of the 9th inning in Atlanta. Colorado leading at 5-4. But Atlanta has runners at first and third with one out. 1 ball, no strikes on Mordecai. Ooh, Holmes almost balked there. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Right through there for a call strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Luis Polonia has moved on deck. Klesko, the potential tying run at third. Lopez, a potential winner at first. Breaking ball outside. 2-1 to Mordecai. You know what Don Baylor is thinking? Not again. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Trying to bunt it and foul it off to the right. Lead. Lopez off first. Klesko off third. Here's the 2-2 pitch to Mordecai. A little bit low. And that fills the count 3-2. Luis Polonia waiting in the on-deck circle. No activity in the Rockies bullpen. The fake throw to third. The look back to first. We're in the bottom half of the 9th inning in Atlanta. Colorado leading it 5-4, but Atlanta has runners at first and third, one out. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Fly ball hit out to shallow left field. Bichette coming on, makes the catch. Klesko's coming halfway down, going back. And that's a big second out for Darren Holmes. And now Don Baylor is going to come out to the mound, not to make a change this time, but probably to review the scouting report on Luis Polonia, who will come on to pinch hit for Greg McMichael. Polonia coming over from the Yankees. Hit .264 for Atlanta. The fly ball hit the shallow left field. Bichette making the catch. Klesko going about almost halfway down before putting on the brakes and coming back. Ted Turner thought it was deep enough. Not quite. 2 men out. Here's Polonia. Runners at first and third. The Rockies need 1 more out to send this to a 4th game tomorrow night. The pitch to Polonia. 0-1. Polonia as a pinch hitter for Atlanta this year was 8 for 18. A .444 pinch hit average. The 0-1 pitch. Fouled away. The count 0-2. Billy Swift worked the first 6 innings in this game. Left with a 5-4 lead. A gutsy performance by the starting pitcher for the Rockies with that ailing shoulder. And now if Darren Holmes can get one more out, Billy Swift will be the first Colorado pitcher to ever win a postseason game. 0-2 on Polonia. First and third, 2 outs. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Fly ball, shallow left field. Bichette coming on, can't get it. Base hit. Castro scores. Down to second, Javi Lopez. We are tied 5-5. A 2-out pinch hit run scoring single for Luis Polonia. A breaking ball. Polonia hit it a little bit off the end of the bat, just flared it into left field. Now Marquise Grissom takes a strike in the outside corner. They knew it all along. 5-5, bottom of the ninth. Lopez at second. The 0-1 pitch to Grissom fouled off the count, 0-2. That was an 0-2 pitch that Polonia hit into left field for the base hit to tie up this game. And you see the reaction of Luis Polonia with 2 outs in the ninth inning. He's at first. Lopez, a potential winning run, down at second. The 0-2 pitch to Marquise Grissom. Ground ball. Funny hop. Walt Weiss has it. Goes to second in time for the force. But the Atlanta Braves, rebounding again in the ninth inning, have tied this game up. We go to extra innings in Atlanta.
And back now in Cincinnati, where this one is 7-1 Reds, bringing you the bottom of the ninth inning there as they go to the 10th inning now in Atlanta. Here, Lewis at the plate, who hit the pinch hit grand slam home run, will be walked intentionally to load the bases. John Cummings in for the Dodgers. Mike Jackson, the pitcher, coming up next. The inning began with Reggie Sanders striking out, and Sanders has struck out 4 times tonight. Then Morris walked. Santiago struck out. Boone with a base hit, and Kelly charged with an error on the play as well. And now the intentional walk to Lewis, and it will bring up Mike Jackson. 7 runs, 10 hits, and 2 errors for the Reds. 1 run, 6 hits, and 1 error for the Dodgers. So they're tied in Atlanta. The Mariners try to extend that series, leading 7-4 in the bottom of the 8th in Seattle. And the Indians are very close to advancing to the American League Championship Series as they lead 8-2 at Fenway in the 8th inning. Mike Jackson with the bases loaded and 2 down in the 7th inning. And he lines it to left center field, and on the run is Kelly, and it's off his glove and bounding to right center field. 3 runs will score, and Jackson is exhausted, so he stops at second. A 3-run double by the pitcher.
And if he could run as well as David Wells, this had been a triple.
Or maybe an inside the park home run. Maybe.
But we do know it gets 3 runners in. Great diving effort by the left fielder, Roberto Kelly. Not able to come up. And there's Mike Jackson, 3 RBIs.
He doesn't hit very much as a setup man. He was 1 for 4 during the regular season. Now Darren Lewis with the Reds leading 10-1, and it's just a matter of time right now. Dave Wallace will go to the mound. As Davey Johnson checks the card. And Osuna comes in from the bullpen. So Antonio Osuna comes in from the bullpen, and it gives us a chance to answer that Toyota Diamond Dust quiz earlier. Don Mattingly made his postseason debut a couple of nights ago after 1,785 regular season games. Which Hall of Famer made his postseason debut with the A's in 75 after 2,000? 368 regular season games. The sweet swinging Billy Williams. Which reminds us too, I guess, the most famous player never to have played in a postseason game would have been Billy's longtime teammate Ernie Banks.
Right.
Of course, for those of you under the age of, I guess, 40 or 35 or whatever, which is the majority of the country right now, boys, there was no such thing as postseason baseball outside of the World Series until 1969. You had 2 leagues, and you had 8 teams, and then in the early 60s they were expanded to 10, and you had a World Series, and that was it. And then in 69 they divided the American and National Leagues into Eastern and Western divisions, and that started the playoffs, or the League Championship Series. And now, of course, under this new format, you have to win 11 games to win the World Series. 3 here, 4 in the League Championship Series, and then 4 in the Fall Classic.
Exactly. I still remember what happened to pitch the clincher my second year in Kansas City, and then of course we knew we were in the World Series. The World Series share was about $11,683, and now it's about $150,000. So with additional playoffs, more revenue, more dollars for the players and the owners.
Well, a good postseason will help baseball heal its wounds to a certain degree. The purists, I know, didn't like this format. I like it. I think this is good. I think in the long run, this is going to be very good. The regionalization of the telecast is terrible, but that's already been taken care of. This is a 1-year deal only for that. They'll get that remedied next year. And the sport still needs a powerful commissioner, among other things, though. So.
And a signed agreement between the players and the owners. That is paramount.
So Osuna comes in to pitch, and Darren Lewis takes up high. Ball 1, 1-0. That's a strike, and the count 1-1.
Osuna out of Mexico, great arm. 94, 95 miles per hour, wicked slider. Doesn't have great control with that pitch, though.
1-2 the count.
Jim, people just don't realize how much time it takes for a young pitcher. I think a pitcher probably more than an everyday player. That's an arguable point. But I think it just takes longer for a pitcher to develop. And this young man right here has got a bright future in front of him.
Great arm. In fact, the whole Dodger staff, good young arms. It's basically a young team.
And Lewis has gone on strikes, but in the inning, the Reds add 3 more. And the celebration is going to begin very soon. 10-1 Reds.
All right, back to your game in a moment, but the Yankees and the Mariners in the 8th inning. The Yankees mounting a comeback. Bill Risley on in relief facing Bernie Williams. He gets his 2nd home run of the night, followed up by Mike Stanley, who also goes to right field. That makes it a 7-4 game in the 8th, but Norm Charlton comes on, nails it down, 7-4. The Mariners get the win, and they are still alive. The Rockies and the Braves, still 5-5. Now in the 10th inning, the Rockies, though, are just scoring a run. We'll update you in a moment.
And back here in Cincinnati, 10-1, the Reds lead it. Jerome Walton is the new left fielder, with Ronnie Gant coming out in the 8th inning. If the Reds win tonight, the National League Championship Series opens here on Tuesday night against either the Braves or the Rockies. In the American League, the Mariners stay alive as Karros grounds one to short. It's the 4th time tonight that Karros has led off an inning, and he grounds out one away. If the Mariners win that series in the American League, they would open the ALCS in Seattle. If the Yankees win that series, it would open up in, well, the way it looks right now, Cleveland, because the Indians appear to be on the verge of clinching. 6-5 as the Rockies have retaken the lead in the top of the 10th in a wild one in Atlanta. And top of the 9th, Indians 8, Red Sox 2. Strike. 0-1 here on Wallach. Well, is this at the end of the line for Tim Wallach? A question to be answered. And again, the Lasorda question. And, you know, all of us we're around the game, and you talk to people, and sometimes you get a gut feeling what's going to happen. But I have to say, this one's a 50-50 with Tommy right now. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
Wallach down on strike.
Well, you know, Al, I know you're a lot closer to the Dodgers than I am. You live on the West Coast, but everybody, the talk I've heard all year is this is an underachieving ball club. But are the Dodgers, with making 130 errors with a young pitching staff, really that good?
Well, you wonder. You know, you get a label, and they say they're underachieving, and part of that has to do with the fact that you had Piazza and Karros having terrific years. Mondesi had a real good first half, and he kind of tailed off second. But in a series like this, you begin to see all of the holes that exist on a team. So you begin to wonder, you know, is overachieving just a word that somebody writes early in the season and then everybody picks it up as the Shield singles to right field?
I think a lot of people look at the Dodger roster and you see 3 straight rookies of the year, the possibility for a 4th, and you see some aging players that are maturing. I guess maturing players would be the better way to say it, with Karros and Piazza and Mondesi. Baseball labels might be the toughest to shake of any labels.
I asked Lasorda before the game if he had a gut feeling as to what Peter O'Malley's decision was going to be in regard to Tommy's future.
I don't know really what he has in mind for me. I love my job tremendously. Nobody in this world who loves their job more than I do. I have never lost my enthusiasm for this job. I've never lost my desire. If he doesn't want me to manage, that's what we'll do. If he wants me to manage, that's what we'll do. I'll probably talk to Peter as soon as everything's over because, hey, we're thinking about this game tonight. We've been thinking about getting into the playoffs. We haven't had time to really talk about it, and that's not that important right now.
That was Tommy before the game tonight, discussing his future. He sends Hollingsworth up to hit for Mondesi here in the 8th inning with 2 out. And so Peter O'Malley, whose family has run this team for years and years, back to the Brooklyn days, and who has been a model of stability and consistency, well, only he knows the answer right now as Hollingsworth grounds out to end the top of the 8th. To the bottom of the 8th inning, Reds 10, Dodgers 1.
You all saw the Braves come back to tie the Rockies in the bottom of the 9th. In the top of the 10th inning, Andres Galarraga, who they walked Larry Walker to get to, brings in Dante Bichette, who had doubled, makes it 6-5. Then Vinny Castilla brings in Larry Walker as he drops this one out into right field. Walker had moved across on a wild pitch, 7-5. It's now moving to the bottom of the 10th inning. Al, Jim, Tim.
Okay, John, and in Cincinnati, the bottom of the 8th inning with the Reds on top 10-1, and Barry Larkin with 2 hits tonight and 5 hits in the series. 1-0 with Antonio Osuna working for the Dodgers. One and 1. Now tomorrow, if this series ends here, those of you seeing this game in your various regions will get another game at 7 o'clock Eastern and 4 o'clock Pacific. You will either get the Yankees against the Mariners, or the way it looks right now, if the Rockies and the Braves go to a fourth game, they'll play tomorrow. The game in Boston appears to be in hand for Cleveland, so that series will, like this one, end in 3. But there will be a game on your ABC affiliate tomorrow night, as Larkin drives one to deep left field, and the catch is made up against the fence by Kelly.
Get an idea of how quick Barry Larkin's bat can be. Osuna throws 95, gets the ball up and in, and Kelly makes a nice grab going all the way to the wall, not letting the wall interfere. But Larkin almost with a home run.
You talked earlier, Jim, about Reggie Sanders having 5 tools. Barry Larkin also a guy with 5 tools.
You just don't see too many shortstops. You know, they can steal 51 bases, still hit for a high average, be a great fielder, and also hit home runs.
Now Walton. Jerome came in defensively with 1 out in the 8th inning. Just one other thing about Lasorda, and if it seems as if we're spending an inordinate amount of time here, the Reds will advance, so there's going to be plenty of opportunities to talk about the Reds over the next 1.5 to 3 weeks. But if this is indeed the end of an era, it's been 19 years of a lot of fun and a lot of enjoyment for a lot of people, and to come in contact with this man. And I know that what people say about Tommy, always full of bombast and this and that, sure he is. But in an age when so many athletes and so many people in sports have disgusted so many people, here is a guy who has always been there. He has been there. He has sold his sport, and here he is in postseason play. Casey Stengel managed 63 games, and this Tommy's 61st postseason game. So he's been brilliant in the dugout, and he has been as good for his sport as any athlete, manager, administrator I can think of in any sport. He is a wonderful man.
And I'll tell you, if Sparky Anderson, who I saw last Sunday, who resigned last Monday, is listening, I know, you know, he said he was going on a cruise, but not till November. If he doesn't come back and manage the game, we'll miss a class guy like him. I can't think of 2 guys that have really represented baseball better.
Absolutely.
I tell you, I can't wait to get in the locker room and talk to Tommy, because he is, I mean, he just makes the game so much fun.
Swing and a miss, and the count 0-1.
It's interesting to note once again that the only manager here tonight sure to be gone next year is the guy who is seeing his team sweep the Los Angeles Dodgers, and that's Davey Johnson.
Isn't that amazing? You're right.
It's a ridiculous situation.
And
I mean, absolutely deplorable in my judgment.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, everybody knows he can manage. That isn't the point here, I guess.
1-2. I mean, think about this too. Here are the Yankees on the verge of advancing, and there's some question as to whether Buck Showalter will come back there. Whether Buck Showalter even wants to come out there.
Yeah.
Well, Davey Johnson's going to be out here. You could have a World Series where both guys are gone.
Yeah, right.
And down goes Sanders. So we'll go to the 9th, and the Reds 3 outs away from advancement. We're back, 9th inning. It's going to take a while for the fans to really get into the division series. I'm looking around, and about half the crowd has left. Now, if you were winning a whole pennant, everybody would still be here, even with the score 10-1.
Be here for the celebration.
Yeah,
right?
but with half a pennant, you got about half a crowd.
Yeah.
And when you look around Riverfront Stadium, there are empty seats all over the joint right now.
And probably half a celebration coming up.
That's right. As Roberto Kelly fouls it back.
It'd be a perfect time for champagne and splits.
Well, the Rockies won. Yeah, the Mariners won. So each of those series goes on. And the Indians win. So the Indians are advancing in the American League. So this series will be over. And the 2 Ohio teams will go on to the League Championship Series. And then tomorrow in your region, you will see either Braves against the Rockies or the Mariners against the Yankees. I I can't even say check your local listings because half the papers have gone to bed already. Meanwhile, among other things, if a guy's ever going to strike out 5 times in a game, do it when your team wins 10-1. That's what Reggie Sanders has done tonight. While nobody was looking, Reggie Sanders is 0 for 5 with 5 punch-outs. But he has some select company. With Brantley on the mound trying to close Kelly out, a guy named George Pipgrass, who was a Yankee pitcher in the 1932 World Series, fanned 5 times in a game. And that's looped into left field, and it is a base hit. It is short hop by Jerome Walton. Single for Kelly.
Our MCI Proof Positive replay this evening is relatively easy. Actually, the 2 replays on Wednesday night in the 7th inning, that brilliant play by Benito Santiago, and the MCI Proof Positive replay tonight. Watch Santiago ward off Chad Fonville back in the 3rd inning and then come and make the tag. In a 10-1 ball game, you don't often show a defensive play at the end of the game, but that 2 brilliant plays by Santiago over the last 2 games.
Well, there's no question that was a huge play at the beginning of this game, because if Fonville scores and Karros comes up and hits a home run and it's 3-0, it's a whole league ball game.
Yep.
Foul back. 0-2 the count.
And again, our notes from Steve Hurt, I mean, it tells us that if you score the first run in the National League, that usually you win 64% of the time. The Dodgers do it over 75% of the time. So a young ball club maybe being on top by 1 run, which would have happened back in the 3rd, may have made a difference.
Dave Hansen, the pinch hitter, lines one into center field for a base hit. So runners at first and second. The Reds going with their closer, Jeff Brantley, and the reason is they're going to win the game, and Brantley is going to be off until next Tuesday, so an opportunity to get some work in for him. Tonight's game is being brought to you by Burger King, where you can get your burger's worth. MetLife, get Met It Pays, and the makers of Advil. Brett Butler coming up. Thinking of Sanders striking out 5 times, George Pipgrass striking out 5 times in a World Series game. We've been doing the 2-of-a-kind thing tonight. George Pipgrass and Reggie Sanders. That's popped foul and just out of play. 0-1.
Mentioned Tim Wallach. We've mentioned Tommy Lasorda. You mentioned earlier in the game Brett Butler. Chance that a good chance that the Dodgers will not sign him again.
Right.
Not with Todd Hollingsworth, their center fielder of the future. Matter of fact, that's why they traded for Butler, because Hollingsworth went down.
Lifted to left field. Walton coasts over. 1 away. Well, this is a very strange setting. I must say, all things considered, when you think about, all right, you had the residue of the strike and a lot of empty seats in L.A. the other night for a couple of reasons. The division series, a new thing, Yom Kippur, the O.J. distraction, and all of that stuff, and a lot of empty seats. And here we are in Cincinnati, the Reds on the verge of winning a series, and there can't be 20,000 people in this ballpark right now.
But in fairness to the crowd, they did make some racket at the appropriate times tonight.
They certainly did.
Did we get the attendance?
I did not see the attendance tonight.
But Jim Bowden saying attendance down about 4,000 a game this year, even though they had a marvelous year. 85 wins.
1-1.
Probably 47, 48,000, I would think.
One and one on Gwynn. In the 9th inning with 2 on and 1 out, and Gwynn fouls it away. And the count 1-2. So the division winner in the West will be dead, and the wild card is still alive. Rockies in Game 4 tomorrow against the Braves. That's foul back.
Matter of fact, both the wild card teams in each league advance to the finals. Yankees and the Rockies are advanced to the fourth game.
Yeah, advance
to the fourth game.
Still alive.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you'll have 2 division winners and 2 wild cards still in the hunt tomorrow. And 2 other division winners already advancing after tonight's games. And Gwynn has gone on strike. So 1 out to go. And Mike Piazza will come up. And now what remains of the crowd rises as 1. Two out of the ninth. 0-1. Line to center field, and it is pulled in by Lewis for the sweep. Dodgers were hot down the stretch. They had some momentum coming into the playoffs. The Reds were pretty cool in September, but September means nothing in October. So the Reds win. What do we call it? Half a pennant.
Time for the splits.
Yes, they do. The National League Championship Series begins here. Reds against the Braves or the Rockies Tuesday. And tonight's Chevrolet player of the game is Mark Lewis, who comes off the bench and hits the first pinch hit grand slam in postseason baseball history. And that broke it open. It turned a 3-1 game into a 7-1 game. And it was easy sailing from there. As the platooning third baseman, Mark Lewis, who plays against left-handers, comes off the bench and drives the final nail into the Dodgers. And in conjunction with the program, Chevy will contribute a total of $50,000 to the Boys and Girls Clubs of America in the names of all players of the game for the 1995 season. We have Ron Gant with us, I understand. Ron Gant and Sal Michaels with Jim Palmer. Tim McCarver, congratulations, sir. Well, I mean, for you, it has to be something extremely special to be prone after a dirt bike accident, to think that your career might be over, and here you are going to the National League Championship Series.
Hey, this is great. You know, I didn't play at all last year, and you know, I was wondering if I was going to be able to get back into baseball, and I came into spring training. I worked hard. Everything that's happened to me, it seems like it happened for a reason, and it was like a dream come true for me.
Ron, any comparisons between this team and the Atlanta Braves of the early 90s?
Yeah, there's a lot of comparisons. I think one thing that this team has that we didn't have in Atlanta was the speed that we have on this ball club. Everybody in the lineup can run, and we put a lot of pressure on the opposing pitchers, and that's the reason why we score a lot of runs on this ball club.
Ron, Jim Palmer, you know, Nomo had a terrific year. It didn't look like his stuff was quite as good as it has been. Looked a little bit tired, but tough guy to face. And were you looking fastball when you hit the home run?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, he's the type of pitcher that you have to be aggressive on. If he gets ahead of you, then he's going to go to that split finger, and it's hard to lay off that. But you know, we showed tonight that we were going to be aggressive, and we you know, right off the bat, and we put a lot of pressure on him early and got him out of the game early.
Ron, a very honest answer here now. Most hitters would love to face the Rockies pitching staff as opposed to the Braves, but in your particular case, would it be extra sweet for you to have the Reds face Atlanta beginning Tuesday?
Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, all this feels like a dream to me, and you know, being released by the Braves and going through this season and being on a great ball club and getting back to the postseason is something I always dreamed. But you know, playing against Atlanta will be something extra special for me, since that was the team that released me.
Well, the good news for you guys is they lost tonight, and that means Maddox probably goes tomorrow, which means you might see him one less time in the playoffs if they get here.
Right, yeah. From what I understand, he might have to pitch on Wednesday of next week, and you know, if it comes to that, we only have to see him once, like you said, and it'll be great for us, and you know, hopefully we can score runs off the other guys.
Well, like a hard-working pitcher, you now get 3 days rest, Ron Gant. We'll see you Tuesday night.
Thank you very much, guys.
Okay. Ron Gant, who got it started with that shot into the second level off Nomo early on. And the Reds go on to win it and sweep the series. Now, tomorrow night, 2 series still going. Reds advance. They will play the winner of the Braves-Rockies series, Game 4 there in Atlanta tomorrow. Game 4 in the American League Series between the Yankees and the Mariners takes place in Seattle. Check your local listings. The games tomorrow begin at 7 p.m. Eastern and 4 p.m. Pacific, an hour earlier. So, until tomorrow, Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, and Tim McCarver, with special thanks to Kurt Gowdy, Bill Webb in the truck, Steve Hurd upstairs, saying good night from Cincinnati.